Ready? Council. I call for the City of Petoskey City Council meeting for September 15th, 2025. I ask that you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk Beck, would you please call roll?
Demore,
Present.
Shields.
Present.
Knaptrap.
Here.
Walker.
Present.
Present. We have a quorum. Next is the introduction, the 2025-26 Petoskey Youth Advisory Council. And Mr. Moore, do you want to do something?
Just to welcome the 2025-2026 Petoskey Youth Advisory Council to this meeting. The council's here to introduce themselves and to experience city council governance. So if we could just begin, Mia, if you would stand and let the folks know who you are.
As I am in the 12th grade, I am new to the Youth Advisory Council. I wanted to show the younger kids that we are able to do something in the town and community and have a voice, basically. That's my goal anyway, for being here.
My name is Eloise Jones. I'm a senior at Petoskey High School, and I'm new to the Petoskey Advisory Council. And I wanted to join because I'm interested in pursuing a career in political science and public policy, and this seems like a really great hands-on experience for that.
Excellent. Speak up, folks.
Felix Schmidt, senior at Petoskey High School, and this will be my first year on the app. I was interested in joining because I'm interested in pursuing a career in urban design or architecture, and I wanted to see how public policy influences those fields. Hi, I'm Elodie Wong. I'm senior and secretary. I wanted to continue to serve as city council because my experience very fulfilling and I learned a lot, and I want to continue that experience and continue to. Hi, my name is Emily Jason, I'm a junior at Petoskey High School. I'm a recurring member of YAC and I'm one of the website coordinators. I chose to be a part of Petoskey Youth Advisory Council to be more involved in urban voice in the. Hi, I'm Ayla Shields and I'm a junior at Petoskey High School. I'm a returning member of the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council and one of the website coordinators. I chose to be in Petoskey Youth Advisory Council to know how to be more involved in my city and how it runs.
My name is Tristan Sweater. I'm a 10th grader at Petoskey High School, and I'm a new member for the Petoskey Youth Advisory Committee. And I'm looking forward to expanding my knowledge on city decisions that shape our community.
Okay.
Hi, I'm William Washington. I'm also a 10th grader at Petoskey High School. I'm a new member and I joined because I want to learn how it works to run a local government.
My name is Corbin Gandhi and I'm in 12th grade and I'm a new member of Petoskey Youth Advisory Committee. I kind of just wanted to see how my community matters to my government and get this community for the younger generation.
My name is Sam Ingalls. This is my second year on Petoskey Youth Advisory Council. I handle volunteerism for the council. I had a great time last year and I'm excited for this year.
Hi, my name is Taylor Keysweater. I'm the current co-chair of the council. I'm in 12th grade at Petoskey High School and I'm excited to expand on what I've learned in the past.
Hi, my name is Charlie Olson. I'm the other co-chair on the council. I'm in 12th grade, so I'm a senior at Petoskey High School, and I'm excited to continue learning about the inner workings of city government.
Good evening, my name is Brian Tang. I am a senior at Petoskey High School. This will be my first year on the Petoskey Youth Advisory Committee. I was interested in joining because the whole governance was a great area for me and I wanted to educate myself and hopefully expand and grow as a character in the future.
Hi, my name is Anya Peck. I'm an 11th grader at Petoskey High School and it's my first year on the Youth Advisory Council.
I joined this because I really want to have a voice for the younger residents of Petoskey, and I want to make an impact on policies. Hi, I'm Eliza Roger. I'm a junior at Petoskey High School, and I joined the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council so I can learn more about the inner workings of government of a city because of AP government last year. And this is my first year on the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Lusky. I'm a junior at Petoskey High School, and this is my first year on that. And I wanted to do this because I want to learn more about our council and the impacts that it affects our town. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you very much. I know Mr. Moore has a very busy schedule for you. You'll probably be running into each of us up here at some point, doing some kind of an interview with us or meeting with you. And so welcome, and I'm sure this will be a very good learning experience for you, and welcome aboard. So, anything else, Mr. Moore? Thank you, guys. Now you'll see the real process, how it gets going here, okay? Next is the consent agenda. And that's an adoption of a proposed resolution that would confirm approval of the following. If you don't have a agenda, they're outside on the post there for anybody in the audience as well. The adoption will be for August 12th, 2025, special joint session. August 18th, regular session and a closed session meeting minutes. And we'll pass those out now for you to review. And while we do that, it's also acknowledged the receipt of certain administrative transactions have occurred since August 18th, 2025. We're also talking about purchase of a GM Terrain, 29,000, a GMC Canyon at 42,000. A latest production four-wheel drive heavy duty 1-ton Sierra 3500 regular cab pickup, not to exceed 62,000. Purchase of the four-wheel drive heavy duty, another Sierra 3500, not to exceed 85,000, and also one more that will not to exceed 72,000. Council, I go to you. Do you have questions or comments? Mr. Knobtraub.
I just had one question. I noticed that we're buying them all from Todd Wenzel, and I was wondering, how do we decide where specifically, what dealership to buy these through?
I think there's a reason for that. Jason, could you come step forward?
Yes.
Tell everybody who you are.
So I am Jason Fate. I'm the Director of Public Works. So Public Works oversees electric, water, wastewater, streets, and motor pool. So we're gonna be talking about motor pool here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the vehicles are all purchased through Wenzel because it's through the My Deal program. So each manufacturer can bid on the My Deal state-run program that we're municipals and other government entities are allowed to purchase from. And typically, because of the volume that's at the fleet and commercial side of it, we're at a discounted rate comparative to anywhere else we can get those vehicles. I did request quotes from Fletch's, a local dealer here, and the vehicles were anywhere from 5 to 7.5% higher than what we can purchase through the My Deal program.
Thank you. He's just FYI, he's a resident of Ward 3 and a very generous man.
Okay.
When Todd is, yes.
Okay. I want to say thank you for checking with Fletch's and making sure that it's all above board here.
You're welcome.
Thank you for doing that, Jason.
Mayor, I have another question.
Ms. Walker first.
Thank you. Can you assign, were all these purchases of all these vehicles for Department of Public Works or some of them for Public Safety and Parks and Recreation? It didn't identify it in the meeting minutes, so it's helpful to know kind of what department those come from.
Yep.
Let's just start with C and work down.
Yep. So the Terrain is a city motor pool vehicle. So anybody at the city can sign that out. The next one, the Canyon, is a Public Works vehicle. The third one there, the 1 ton with the plow, that is that's gonna be a Parks vehicle.
Okay.
The next one is a 1 ton with the dump box, that's a Public Works vehicle. And the last one, 3/4 ton, that will be a Public Works electric vehicle.
Thanks.
Any other
Thank you.
questions, Lindsay, on that?
No, I just have on the check register.
Okay, well, let's do this part and then we'll jump to the chat. Anybody else have anything else on vehicles? Mr. Moore?
Yeah, this is just a point of clarification regarding vehicle deficit spending. At the end of this agenda item on vehicle and equipment purchase authorization, actually, these purchases are into deficit spending, but it says that the budget overall will remain under budget. So I just want to confirm that while it appears to be deficit spending, it is not.
Correct, it is not.
Thanks.
Anything else on vehicles? Now we'll go to the check register. Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. So August was a really big month in the city of Petoskey because that's when we get our summer taxes come back in through the city. So the allocations to the different tax bodies that the city, as we collect the taxes, then we have to pay them out. So between the Emmett County Treasurer, Petoskey Public Schools, North Central Michigan College, and Emmett County Brownfield, we're talking about the millions of dollars. So this month's check register was very fun to read because we're talking about millions of dollars. So I didn't do a tally of the independent, like how much did we pay out to Petoskey Public Schools? How much did we pay out to North Central Michigan College and the Emmett County Treasurer or the Brownfield? But I can tell you it's into the tens of millions of dollars, 20 millions of dollars. Thank you.
Anything else on the check register? Mr. Shields?
I'll make motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Shields, second from Mr. Moore. Any other discussion? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Shields.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Knocktron.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes,
And if you can please send back your closed session minutes, please.
motion passes 5-0. Cheers. While that's going on, this is your opportunity to speak to the council. If you address council, you would give us your full name, full address, and you won't be addressing the audience, you'll be addressing council. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to council at this point, either live or online? Please.
Where's the button?
Yes.
Okay.
Green.
Hi, my name is Amy Jansons. I live at 1021 East Mitchell Street in Petoskey, Michigan. And first, I wanted to thank you and your entire team for the Parks and Rec Department's dreams for our parks ahead, for our children, for our families. I finally got a chance to come here today after work and look at them and was just delighted to see your commitment to community. I think our parks are such a huge part of that. We live right up above the Winter Sports Park, and I'm delighted to see that it is going to have a new vision and a new dream. One of my favorite things is in the winter to go sit on our hill, which backs up to the Winter Sports Park, and the amount of effort that goes into keeping the ice is incredible. It's a beauty to watch. Over the last 10 years, I've noticed that our days that we have ice has considerably gone down. And so I believe in the plans. It doesn't have a plan for a cooling system, and I would just really like to encourage you to explore that more. My concern is we're going to do this huge change, and we're not going to have an ice skating rink because days have gotten warmer. I saw in Mrs. Demore's newsletter that was kind of low in the original survey, and ice cooling system was low, but I wonder if the question had been, would you like to have an outdoor ice skating rink, if perhaps it would have ranked higher. So just encourage you to consider that over 10 years, we don't have that many days that we can ice skate some years, and it's a really magical part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jansen. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this time? Is there anybody online? There is nobody. Now we move to city manager's report for September 15th, 2025. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to take a few moments to highlight staff birthdays and work anniversaries celebrated by our city staff for the month of September. In September, we have Public Safety Officer Dallas Givens celebrating her birthday today, actually. Carl Fritz, Public Safety, September 26th, and Jordan Rea, Water Wastewater, September 29th. Similarly, September work anniversaries, Bridget Lemure in Finance Department celebrates 3 years. Nicole Stradling, Finance, 4 years. Jody Haven at the library celebrates 11 years. And Sherilyn Greenwell in the Finance Department, 28 years with the city. Updating on our ongoing Howard Street reconstruction project. This is Howard Street from the Jennings to Sheridan stretch. Obviously, we've broken this up into phases. So the latest phase that we are on is Jennings to Sheridan. All water main, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer has been completed. Concrete curb and gutter sidewalks have been completed. There is a small area of sidewalk on the northeast quadrant that needs to be finished. DTE has a small gas repair area that is scheduled for later this week, and then that will be restored at that time. New right-of-way trees have been planted, topsoil and seeding has been completed, and I'm happy to report after several starts and stops, paving was completed on Saturday. So Howard Street is open to all traffic through from Sheridan to Jennings Street. So hopefully that addressed some school-related transportation challenges. Certainly appreciate everyone's patience. I know this has been a challenging project for folks that travel in that corridor. We've had a number of washouts in that area due to significant rain events that have happened this summer. So we appreciate everyone's patience through that. We have moved on Howard Street to the Washington Street section. So there's a small stretch on Washington Street between Petoskey to Howard. Those pavement and concrete removals began today. We'll do sanitary sewer work starting later this week, and then water main work following that next week, with paving scheduled to be completed by November 1st prior to any sort of seasonal limitations or plants closing for material. As a result of some of our delays this year, we are going to the stretch from Fulton to Jennings. Instead of trying to tear that up and run up against weather-related issues and not being able to finish it, we are going to hold that stretch. Again, this will be Fulton to Jennings. We're going to hold that till next spring when we can get it completed without dealing with weather-related concerns and asphalt plants closing and such. So the contractor will be coming back in the spring to complete that last stretch. We will have a top course of asphalt that will go down from Grove to Fulton. Right now, that's just has a base course of asphalt that will be topped off when we finish the Washington Street area before we kind of close that project for the fall and winter. Couple of things to celebrate later this month downtown. Friday, September 26th is Witches Night Out. That has become a fairly popular thing downtown. So that'll begin Friday, September 26th from 5 to 9. A lot of different activities by downtown merchants that are promoting that opportunity. And then similarly, the following day on September 27th, downtown celebrates a downtown day, kind of a shop local, dine local, statewide concept that we are promoting with all of our downtown merchants as well. So we encourage people to take advantage of that weekend. One of the things I wanted to ask council, and I don't necessarily need to have a final determination, but I wanted to kind of gauge your input, and maybe our YAC members would be interested in chiming in with this one as well. So we have explored an opportunities to try to celebrate America's 250th next year, to really make the July 4th celebration maybe a little larger, a little different than what we've done in years past. And one option that our fireworks provider mentioned as an option would be to move the fireworks out to the break wall. This would create an atmosphere where I think more people could visually see the fireworks. They'd be able to shoot out some larger materials that would kind of expand a little bit more. The concern, obviously, a couple of concerns. We would have to close the break wall on one of the busiest weekends of the year. It would be essentially for the day, because we'd have to set up. It's like we do here. I think we close the trail around 2 o'clock or so. Yeah, I'm looking at Reg, he's shaking. So we have volunteers that manage that aspect of it. So we shut the trail down, we reroute people around the area. So similarly, that would happen on the break wall, where we would close the break wall down. And so obviously that's a very busy time. So a lot of people take advantage of that opportunity. The other potential issue that public safety potentially sees is if the wind is coming out of, would that be the northeast, west? We do have the marina here. We're concerned about any sort of embers or debris kind of getting into a boat or damaging any sort of equipment around the marina area. So that's another concern that's been raised, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I know the Petoskey 4th Committee is seeking some input on how to make and celebrate, this significant anniversary, and make this a little bit bigger, a little bit different experience than what we've had before. Our fireworks provider is really pushing and excited about the break wall opportunity, but it's obviously our community, and we need to make the decisions that best suit our community. They do shoot fireworks off of break walls in other Michigan communities. I believe it's Grand Haven or South Haven. They do something very similar. So just wanted to kind of get your first take at that. Is that something you want us to continue to explore, or if it's dead on arrival? That's certainly good feedback as well. We would need Corps of Engineer sign off on it. But even before we go to that length or that effort, just wanted to get City Council's feedback.
Also, you want to weigh in on this? Anybody? Ms. Walker.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. And thank you, Shane, for the opportunity to give a little feedback. As a Rotarian,
Thank you.
As a Rotarian, you are very well versed in what the aftermath of like the cleanup involves down at the launching area. So if you're launching off a break wall, the majority of fireworks are primarily manufactured in China, and they're using a lot of plastics and explosive components. So a lot of plastic is landing in the water, because what goes up must come down, right? Not only are we getting a beautiful display, but there's residuals of what comes down afterwards. So my only consideration would be if you're launching right now from land and we're able to clean up and capture the majority of what's when it's going off, then I wonder if that would still be equally as clean-upable if it's going mostly into a water body or off of a really narrow pier. I guess that was the only consideration.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't mention that aspect of it as well. As a potential negative is right now we capture maybe, I don't even know what percent we're capturing on land, because you've assisted with cleanup as well. And there's a significant amount that's on the shore that we're raking up and cleaning up, but we know also that there's some that gets into the bay. And that, from that standpoint, probably 95% of it is going to be in the water. Now, obviously, Harbor Springs is doing that off a barge. Bay Harbor is doing it off a barge, where 100% of that is going into the bay. That doesn't make it right necessarily for us. We'll make our own decision, but that is happening around us. But that's a good point, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Mr. Knobtrop.
going down the line. I think given the 25th or 250th anniversary of our country, would be really cool to do something a little bit different and special. And I'd be all in favor of it as long as we deal with public safety issues.
Mr. Shields.
Ms. Walker brought up interesting point that I guess I'd want to sit on with a little bit further and if there are any type of boom type cleanup options that we go above and beyond, maybe some other communities. You know, I know the Rotarians brought the idea of a drone show last year and it was not well received, which I think we're missing out on that. I think that when people experience the drone show, their jaws will drop. But if that's off the table, then I am open to furthering the discussion, hearing from these folks and other folks in the community about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moore.
So just based on the information provided this evening, including what my colleague Ms. Walker has brought up, I mean, I'm not sure how much that break wall is used during the day, but if people come to town and it's very highly used, that's a factor to me leaning not doing it there. And then also can't help it, used to be a liability lawyer when you're talking about risk to boats. I guess I need to hear more about that as well. So with just what we know right now, I would lean toward not doing it, but I'm open to hearing more information.
And Director Carr and I talked today. I don't know if we could, when we apply for the permit, I don't know if we could have a plan A and a plan B, like if the wind conditions are right and it's not pushing debris or anything toward the marina, we could shoot it off the break wall. But if the wind conditions are such that we're concerned, we have plan B being the spot we normally do. So I think we may be able to massage that in our application a little bit. I just wanted this initial feedback. If I get dead on arrival, that's fine. It sounds like there's maybe some openness to the idea a little bit. So
I'm very open to the idea myself, having over the last many years moved around and have viewed the fireworks from many, many locations, just trying to see what's the best place and what the different people have. I think at one time, I thought we did do on the break wall long ago. But the thing about the break wall, what's nice is if you were to shut it down at 2 o'clock, that's just a matter of one part of a day. And he said 2 o'clock is when they shut it down.
Everybody said all day.
no, I'm sorry. I initially said all day, but as I was looking to Reg back there, I think 2 o'clock is when we close the trails section down.
So
So
if
it'd probably be similar to that.
So if it's hot, it's good, and people, adults, I jump off the break wall occasionally. You can still jump off of it until 2 o'clock on 4th of July. And you're off of it for the fireworks and then it opens back up in the next morning. What I have some concerns that Ms. Walker has with debris. I think that we can look at possibly, Shane, you could look at talking to what other places that do it to see what is their debris catch-all. Do they use some kind of a boom? Do they have a boat out there with nets? I mean, is the stuff mostly plastic, paper floats? But the other piece of it that I like about the break wall the most is the security. You only have to have 2 people at the break wall to stop the traffic going on, where if you're back where we're at now, you've got 4 or 5 different ways that people can walk and get into that area. You have to have, I don't know, Reg, how many people do you have lining up around the walls?
Yeah, we usually have at least 2 and 2. I like to have 3 and 3. So, I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but it's a big deal to close the bike trail. Yeah. Because it really is an inconvenience for people. That trail is very heavily used.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a lot of out of town people. And then when we have to redirect them up and around, it's.
Yeah,
that's a big.
Thank you. That's another consideration is how much would we shut down people's use? And from 2 till 12 on the break wall is very minimal compared to sending people up around the highway and looping it around on bicycles. So I think let's explore this more. I don't know when is a decision doesn't have to be made right away, of course.
No, I mean, we need to get our permit in at some point, probably yet this year, but we do have some time and just wanted to get your initial feedback. Obviously, this will come back to you when we do the permit, but the other thing to keep in mind, and I learned this from our fireworks provider, is they can only do, I believe, up to 5-inch, and I might get the term wrong, casing or shell, whatever those are called, because of the proximity to the highway. So out on the break wall, they can expand and do a little bit larger. Again, I forgot the name of that, the shell or whatever it is that's shooting up. So they could do would obviously go higher. More people would see it because they can use bigger equipment, if you will.
I think it'd be a real plus. I go out on the break on the dock to see it. And I think, there are trees there that seem to somewhat block the view along if you're sitting on the dock. So I think this would make it more visually accessible to everybody, but.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mr. Moore.
Well, I just wonder if we might give anybody in the audience who would like to offer their input.
Sure.
Could just go thumbs up one way or another, if you want to do that.
Thumbs down,
Thumbs up, break wall concept,
Ela wants to say something.
not sure. No. Oh, yeah, come on up. You can, for sure.
To introduce myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
Turn the green light on, name, and yeah, that'd be good.
My name is Ayla Shields, and I am a junior at Petoskey High School and a member of Petoskey Youth Advisory Council. I like the idea of doing something special for the 250th anniversary. I think that's very important. I, as someone who loves 4th of July, very much enjoys it at Petoskey. I do tend to watch the fireworks on the break wall, and with my friends, we do that a lot, and it's, in my opinion, a great view from the break wall and a special spot. I'm also someone who loves to jump off the break wall all throughout the day, and I know it's just one day, and of course, it could be blocked off, but I see the importance of having it on that day because I think it is highly used. Also, with the people in boats, I could be wrong. I see maybe that would be hard to block off. I obviously don't know, but the safety of the people in boats that watch the fireworks from the in Lake Michigan, I think would be definitely important to think about, as well as the garbage pollution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anya Peck. I'm a junior at Petoskey High School, and this is my first year on the council. I definitely agree with a lot of what Ayla said. I think that the 4th of July might even be the break wall's most busiest day because I know a lot of people that like to jump off of it during the day and around sunset time. And I also do know that there are many people that like to watch the fireworks from the break wall. So they would have to find like other spots to watch the fireworks. And I definitely do think that we should consider the damage to potential like areas surrounding the break wall, like the boats. If a firework were to go like in the wrong direction, I think that it could potentially harm a boat or even citizens. And also I do agree with the water damage that it would definitely pollute the water a lot more than if we did it in another location. But I'm also really open to the idea of having a new location for fireworks and doing something special. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Thank you, sir.
My name is Taylor Kieswetter. I'm a senior at Petoskey High School. And Mr. Horn, I had the question if it would be possible to look into if they were to angle the mortars, because that would push the 600-foot radius larger out into the lake. And I feel like that would kind of change the biggest issue of safety with the boats.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? Please.
Hi, I'm Amelia Schumann. I'm a senior at Petoskey High School. I totally agree with the idea of moving the location, but with the break wall, as a few people have already said, It's one of the limited spaces that people have to use on like special occasions such as the 4th of July. And with our limited lakefront, like I know with the state park, a lot of the time on busy days like 4th of July, they'll end up having to like shut people out. So with only so much lakefront that people can utilize on that day, it might be important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Thank you.
One other, Mayor, one other slide that I had, just as a reminder to City Council of our training opportunity for, we're inviting all of our city boards and commissions on October 27th. That's a Monday night from 5:30 to 8:30. The Michigan Municipal League will be here to kind of give us some refresher training on everything. It's called Everything Meetings. So it's designed to kind of help assist run, conduct smooth, well-run legal meetings. So that's kind of what our focus will be that evening. So again, that's Monday, October 27 from 5:30 to 8:30, and we will be sending that out to all of our board and commission members as well. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for city manager? Mr. Shields?
Thanks, Mayor. Just a comment. I just want to thank Mr. Fade and Manager Horn and the rest of the staff for dealing with the Howard Street reconstruction and you know, your patience as well. I understand personally in my profession, I have to deal with contractors and delays, and it can be frustrating. And so I appreciate you pushing that forward and opening it up and kind of being strategic in how you do that. So thank you. And Manager Horn, I had a question about, as I look, there's as I count, 6 meetings left in the year. And I wonder if you have an update on the zoning reform that we're going to be going at. And I will be honest, I'm concerned of being able to make the deadline at the end of the year, which is already, I think, pushed back from the 6 to 9 months. And I understand when I brought that up last time of my ideal for it being a 6 to 9 month process, that, you know, we're undertaking something larger. So, so now it's been 17 months and I'm just curious if there is a timeline or expectation that we and council are going to see that sometime in the next 6 meetings. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know Planning Commission meets Wednesday night. They're reviewing, forgot what article they're reviewing Wednesday, a couple articles, but it's likely that this is going to be until the end of the year before it comes back to City Council. That's if I had to hazard a guess, that's probably where we're looking at, is close to the end of the year before this is handed over. But certainly not for a lack of effort. There's a pretty substantial committee that's been working through this and coming back to the Planning Commission with further reviews. So it's just, this is where things are at currently.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yep.
Anything else, council? Moving right along. Next is appointments, and this is for consideration of the following. I'm going to bring them up separately, individually for you. And the first one I bring to you is Carolyn Dittmeyer. She has been on the board for term. This will be her second one. She, as you read on your sheet from her, she feels that it's important to preserve the unique beauty of our historic Bayside town and embrace a strong vision for future development. I know she's a positive participant in this and has lived in Petoskey for 33 years. I bring her name to you for acceptance. Ms. Walker?
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to approve Carolyn Detmer to reappointment to the Planning Commission.
Support.
I have a motion from Ms. Walker, a second from Ms. Demore. I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Walker.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Mactrab.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. She's not here, but I know she is happy. The next is Stafford Reg Smith for the Planning Commission. I bring his name forward to you. He was raised in Petoskey, sir. He's lived in several homes in Petoskey. He was operated and was significant in the business with Perry Hotel with his family until the 2024 sales. He served on the DMB for several different times, including chair for 2 years. I bring you Reg Smith's name. Mr. Moore.
So moved.
I second the motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Moore, a second from Mr. Shields. Anything, any other discussion? You have your hand up,
I do have a question.
please.
Thank you. Is Reg replacing somebody else that's on the commission? Has somebody stepped down or finished their term and decided not to be reappointed?
Yes. Matt McSweeney sent his resignation in on the board and asked, he's too busy. He and loved the job, he said, in this thing. The problem was his time commitment. He has two small children. He coaches soccer and baseball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, please, and he said, I will be back with the city sometime in the future. So
Thank you.
I said, good luck, coach. Do I have we have a motion and a second. I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Traub,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Mr. Smith is in the back.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to serving.
Okay. Next is Ernie Rusha. He is applying for the Zoning Board of Appeals. He would be replacing gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Eric.
No, Jim Nibbs, who has served for 12 years, said that he would like to do more traveling. And would I be so kind as to help him get off now rather than at the end of his term? And I said graciously, we will be, and we appreciate all of his participation over the years. He was a builder in this county, this area, this county, and he brought a lot of knowledge to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So thank you wherever you are, Jim Nibbs. He called me from Nova Scotia to say that he would that he was happy if I could find his replacement. So he is on the road. His replacement, of course, is Ernie Rush. He is a licensed builder. He has served on a Zoning Board of Appeals in Nunaka Township. He was very active with the power plant, et cetera, at the college, working for the college for years. And I bring his name forward to you.
So moved.
Mr. Shields.
I'll be happy to make, second that motion, Mayor,
Okay.
excuse
I
me.
have a motion from Mr. Shields, a second from Ms. Walker. Any other discussions? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Shields,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Traub,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes, that, he is also in the audience. Ernie, you want to stand up and take a bow so people know. He probably would not have come if he knew I was gonna make him stand up and take a bow. Thank you for volunteering to serve. We have a very active ZBA right now, as you know. We have stuff that does come through the board, and thank you for serving. Okay, next we're on old business. There's about 8 of those. Second reading and possible adoption of proposed ordinance of a dangerous building ordinance. I'm going to send that over to City Manager Horn for a summary of this for us.
Thank you, Mayor. This continues our discussion on this ordinance. We've discussed this for 3 meetings or so. Really looking to put some more teeth and more tools in our code enforcement toolbox, if you will, to address buildings and structures that pose risk to public safety, to health and welfare. This ordinance will assist us in protecting those values, establishing procedures and enforcement and abatement. This will also help us more quickly address those severely blighted and dangerous residential and commercial structures and really and maybe this is the most important aspect, really provide the legal mechanism to recover city expenses. So if we get into a situation where the property owner is just checked out, we have a mechanism to go in, address that code violation and recover those expenses through the tax collection process. So we've talked about this ordinance a few meetings. We've massaged it. We've updated it to the latest version based on your specific input. We do have the city attorney on the line, on the call as well. Happy to take your further questions and potentially consider this for second reading and adoption.
Council, do you have any questions? Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Shane. So moving forward with both this dangerous buildings ordinance and then the last resolution we had passed in regards to a registration system, I think it would be really helpful in terms of like developing something on that landing page of our website, not the opening page, but something under planning and zoning perhaps, or under ordinances on the city webpage, to have some kind of like identifiable like steps or toolkit. So the first piece of policy and legislation we had passed over a decade ago was the International Property Code maintenance and like the ways of anonymously reporting buildings that you felt were falling in disarray. And so there's like a system for reporting that. And now with these two new pieces of ordinances, it's almost like we're equipped, and the citizens really are equipped with a toolkit of ways of going about making our neighborhoods a safer place. So I guess I'm just wondering, and maybe perhaps from the legal standpoint from Laura as well, what could that kind of look like potentially for our city, and just a landing page and someplace where all of these resources are kind of pulled together in a very user-friendly kind of way?
No, that's great feedback. I certainly think that's something we can do, have one kind of clearinghouse page for all similarly based codes and forms, if you will. And certainly all this information will be readily available. Folks can utilize it. A lot of this, as we all know, is complaint driven. When we get phone calls and such, in the code officer's office or my office, we start that process. We've sent out about, I think we're up to about 10 vacant building notices out, and that obviously is our first round. We'll keep going with that. And within the ordinance, there's a reporting mechanism. They have a certain amount of days to report and to register that property, if you will. So we're starting that process now, and that process will be continuing till we get all the way through around the city. So I like that option, having one page where folks can go to get hopefully all their questions answered. Maybe we do an FAQ section to try to assist people through that effort and through that process. So that's good. Got good feedback.
Mr. Knopfler.
Shane, I think you did a great job incorporating all the different feedback, and I'm ready to go for
Okay,
it.
great.
You making a motion?
I would love to make a motion to adopt the dangerous building ordinance.
Support.
A motion from Mr. Knopfler and a second from Mr. Moore. Other discussions? Council? No? Does the public wish to weigh in on this one?
Yes, I would.
Oh, sorry. My name is Denise Cruz. I live on Mitchell Street in Ottawa. 819 East Mitchell Street. I am new to the neighborhood, 3 years now. I came from Harbor Springs, but I'm not unfamiliar with Petoskey. I've come up here for years and years as a vacationer, visitor, and all that. And I love this city. But I was really appalled and shocked to go downtown and find 8 vacant, lovely pieces of real estate right on Mitchell. And I just am mind blown to try to find, how do we get this man out of town who doesn't care about Petoskey? I and my friends were ready to go down and protest with signs out in front of his buildings. Because people come up and ask us, what's going on with these vacant places here in town? What happened? It's not Detroit. There has to be a speedier way. I think everything that you're trying to do and implement is wonderful, but this guy's just gonna dig his heels in and go very slowly, maybe make a motion. I'm applying for a permit to get roof work done, but he's not gonna do anything. It's Petoskey land and cattle. He needs to be out in the boondocks. That's my opinion. And I don't know if there's anything I can do as a resident or my friends who are residents who are equally upset about this. Happy to help in any way that we can. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else wish to speak to council, please?
Want to buy a building?
Amy Jansen's 1021 East Mitchell Street again. My husband and I have had the pleasure of owning a business, small businesses in this town for over 20 years. And I'm really grateful to you for taking these steps and any more you can take. This summer, a lot of our friends who are small business owners were greatly impacted by having to leave their establishments. And it was right at the beginning of the summer for some of them, which is survival time up here. Thank you for this, and anything else we can do to continue to support small businesses. I think this is a really important step.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this time? Anyone online?
Wow.
We'll go to the motion to Ms. Beck.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next is further discussion and possible adoption of a proposed resolution approving the city's proposed 2026 to 2031 capital improvement plan. Go to council, go to city manager first. Let's do that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just as an overview, this is kind of our second discussion. We had a combined meeting with the Planning Commission back on August 12th. Prior to that, on August, I'm going to say 6th, thank you, I see it. We placed the proposed CIP on our website with a dedicated email for feedback and responses to this proposed plan. So it's been out there a while. We had our combined meeting with Planning Commission on August 12th. The Planning Commission had their meeting reviewing the capital improvement plan on August 20th, and they did recommend to City Council for approval. They did have 2 items that they asked to have considered as far as switching years, essentially moving the Mitchell Street redevelopment plan from 2027 to 2028. And they thought that the transportation plan was more of a priority, so moving the non-transportation plan from 2028 to 2027. So those were the 2 proposed changes from the Planning Commission, but they have unanimously recommended approval to City Council with those changes in mind. So to date, we have not received any additional feedback through our online presence with this plan. A number of you, many of you sent me questions, further comments. I've tried to answer those and spread that out to all so you could see responses and feedback on those. I think the critical thing, and I'll just reiterate what we said in the August combined meeting, the critical component is that first year. That's really when we activate funds, when we put together our operating budget with the capital budget. That's really, that first year goes into our overall budget. So that's the most critical year. Obviously, we don't this is a plan, and I mentioned that during our combined meeting. You know, hopefully we don't have another repeat of what happened in March, but, you know, we don't know. And so things change. We've spent over $1 million in storm cleanup that this was not on our horizon to do. But I think, have put our best foot forward, and we tried to do right by our community and address the debris cleanup as quickly and as responsibly as we could. So we're absorbing that cost in our operating budgets. At some point, and Audrey and Jason is working directly with the County Emergency Management Office, with FEMA. It does look like we will get about 75% of that reimbursed. So that's great news. And so we're working on compiling all of our expenses to get to that point. So I'm saying that to say it's important to, on one hand, make sure we activate our fund balance and we put those fund balance funds to use in our community. But on the other hand, it's nice to have the ability to literally weather issues that come up like this. So there's a happy medium there somewhere, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to work with you to help find that happy medium, if you will. But in the first year, in 2026, which again is most critical, really boiling down to general fund, I did something different this year than I normally would have not done in the course of my career. Is I gave you some guidance, I guess, as far as what is staff looking for? What is their request? Typically, I will refine that before it comes to you. But I thought you needed to see what was coming from staff, just from the volume and the projects, because I wanted you to make sure that you understood kind of the scope of the issues that we see, the scope of the needs that we see. And then you all can assist me in kind of refining that a little bit. And certainly it's not something that I'm not opposed to going back to what I did previously. And maybe that's the input that I need going forward. I'm certainly more than capable of getting this down to a level that staff believes is responsible based on our revenue projections. But there are a few things that are unknowns. And one of the big unknowns is the Winter Sports Park project, because we don't have solid numbers yet on that project. The first meeting in November, we'll have those results, we'll have that data. So we'll be able to come back to this body and really refine what that's going to look like. You all can pick out the things that you want to accomplish with that project. There likely is an opportunity to phase this in over a couple of years to kind of lessen the commitment out of the general fund potentially. But maybe, one option would be to consider this capital improvement plan without the Winter Sports Park component at this point. And then once we have solid numbers in that first meeting in November, come back to you and really nail down that specific project at that meeting. Because right now, without having good numbers for that project, it skews our number a little bit. So I would be open to the concept of potentially removing the Winter Sports Park number out of this budget, and then come back to you at that meeting in November and refine it at that point, because now we're talking real numbers. We will have ideas to, we will be bidding out a chiller concept for the rink. So we'll have numbers, we could either put the piping, when we do the concrete, we can put the piping underground to be ready for a chiller system, or we could do it all at the same time. Or do the piping, come back the following year with the actual equipment and chiller and the pavilion aspect. So we could phase this up into many different ways, but without true numbers in front of us, it's hard to play a Monopoly game without having true numbers. So that's an option that you could consider. One other thing that we've talked about is the skate park equipment at our, at River Bend. We thought we would be eligible and we did apply for a grant. It doesn't appear like we're going to get any grant consideration for that project. That's a $300,000 commitment. We could phase that in over 2 years, so do half in 26 and half in 27. We are getting some concerns with some of our equipment there to the point where we may have to just take some stuff out until we get it replaced. But that could be a phased project as well, so it kind of lessens the impact on the general fund. The slope restoration project, this again is trying to find another avenue to get to East Park, where we wouldn't have to do the full-blown $20+ million project. We think we can probably do a little bit better there because we have a lot of survey data already from all the different studies that we've done up on the highway. So that could be reduced as well. So that's a few things that we could consider. Again, I'm focusing on general fund specifically because that's the fund of most concern. But I'll take your input, feedback, and respond accordingly. I'm not, as much as I would love for you to make a decision today, it doesn't have to be today. We can take your input and feedback and come back in the first meeting in October. If you have other questions or concerns, but if you're ready to make a decision, certainly we'll take that and again, come back to you once we have good numbers on Winter Sports Park.
I'm sure everybody in council has something to say, so.
I know.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Manager Horn. Just a high level question first. How does, and this is a reminder for myself, how does this relate to the budget? So if we approve the capital improvement plans and then we get the budget and we see some things that we suggest and want to work around, move things around at that point because we're seeing the full picture. Are these set in stone? Some of these projects like this, for example, the Little Traverse Wheelway repavement, like, is that set in stone if we approve this, or can that in our budget discussions still be something that we move around? Is it?
Yeah, none of these, and I always tell staff this, don't get married to any one of your projects because if bids come back crazy high, or if timing wise, we don't have time to get to a project, we may have to let it sit and go try again the next year. So this is a plan. Plans change. Plans are moldable, changeable. Obviously, we're going to come to you with an operating budget. Whatever this number is that we finalize for 26 will merge into that. But in many cases, we don't spend the allotted fund that we have because, again, either the bids come back way too high, it's just not the right time. So it's very seldom do we actually spend the full allotment. And I don't know, Audrey, if you want to chime in.
Yes, that does happen quite often, like in the case of bids or like after 2020 and 2021, when it was so difficult to get vehicles. They were in CIP, but we weren't able to get them, so they would be pushed until the next year and sometimes even 2 years after. So once we finalize the budget, if it's not where we want it with the fund balance, either positive or negative, then we just move some things to the next year. So it just depends on the numbers at that time.
We have done something a little different than we have in years past, where in years past, we kind of set aside $100,000 out of our cash or our fund balance, cash reserves, to kind of put in there to start with. We actually increased that this year to $500,000. Some of the feedback I was hearing from each of you was our fund balance was getting a little higher on the higher end, and you wanted to try to potentially activate those funds a little bit more aggressively. So we, in tab 3, you can kind of see where we have earmarked $500,000 out of cash reserves to kind of go toward the capital improvement plan. So typically we were always in around, I'll say $500,000 to $600,000 range in general fund. With that $500,000 out of reserves, we're just right around $1 million, and out of the general fund capital for 26. So that's a little bit of a higher number. And that was in an attempt to activate some of our reserve funds.
So, Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Manager Horn. Okay, so my specific comments, questions for council. I had brought up in the questions, written questions to you, Manager Horn, I had brought up the Little Traverse Wheelway Slope Restoration Project. And my question was on study to look at alternatives to the $20 million answer we got for replacement of the wheelway. And I think this is a reasonable question to ask. And I'll back up and say, I was supportive of looking at moving the wheelway up and across the road. And I'm still supportive of looking at it up on the highway on the changes to Epler Road. But we did hear quite clearly from the community that is like, no, there's no interest for it up away from the waterway. And, you know, I feel like we got a study and a proposal for the gold platinum standard. I don't think we always have to do the gold platinum standard. And that was the crux of my question is, can we get a proposal that is bronze or wood, you know, figuratively, of course. You know, is B- okay? Do we always need A+? Do we want to spend $20 million on it? I know that with the state saying that they're not concerned about the slope factor. Do we want to pay $20 million for this if maybe the slope isn't as much of a concern? Because then we're saying it's a $20 million bridge, boardwalk, paved section. What are some other alternative engineering construction estimates for you know, connecting the places that are damaged? That was the question. I thought it was reasonable to at least consider, throw that out there.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I've gone out with public Parks and Rec director and our city manager. And I've suggested looking at cantilevering on the top where right now we have bowlines along the highway. Somehow cantilevering that corner area where we could keep the bike path on the top, but off the highway. It's state, county, and city property along there. Working with them to get a path going so that would take it down. The city has property. There's a fire hydrant, just past Arrowhead Shores. It's hard to see, but it's on the side of the road. And the city has a lot there. And you can take that bike path and drop it back down to the bike path through that lot. So I think there's an alternative. The city is starting to look at that. I've talked to Senator DeMoose in Fairburn and said, would you support something like this with an appropriations? And I said, the word is safety. And that's what this real project is I think it's about safety versus beauty. It could still have a great lookout view once you get past the fairgrounds and you're on that north side of the highway. There are trees in there. There is some view areas that could be cleared out and a good view of the bay could be created there. I think 21 million for this project that we're going to get information from coming up. I think that was last year's pricing. I'm willing to bet it's going to be 25 to 28 million. And talking with Senator DeMoose, he said, you know, and Representative Fairburn, they said 20 million is really out of the reach for them to support this at all that way. So I think going smaller, making it work with safety. Mr. Knobtrop.
You know, this whole thing is somewhat personal for me because I drive by. Right now we're cut off except on that roadway from a big part of our city in Ward 3, which is where I live. And it is very uncomfortable driving with my grandchildren from my house to try to go to downtown. And you cross over, it's a really bad area to try to cross over and take some shortcuts. And in my mind, I think we have a duty to connect the city. I know this was a completely different thing here, but we're kind of cut off in a safe way. And it doesn't seem to me fair to not get something done. I don't want to spend $20 million either. But I do think it's, somebody ought to come up with a plan after these many years to get a little bit better, safer way to get from East Park downtown without going on US 31. That just is not safe. I know we got these little things on there that sort of protects it.
I say that's what I'm talking about. is
That's why
taking
I
it
agree
over
with,
the
I agree with your line of thinking, John.
I think you can do it for, I'm throwing out of my head, $8 million or something like this. I would think something much more feasible, 5 million, who knows? But I think you could cantilever a bike path on that area that is so dangerous. And maybe, I don't know, City Manager Horn, is it possible for us to initiate? We already have records for this in some regards. Is it possible that you could initiate a engineering of that?
Yeah, I really wanted to try to finish out our grant obligation with the first project, which is why Rory from Baird is going to present at the next meeting. Kind of finalize that first. We've had discussions about meandering another pathway off the highway, but along the highway up on top. And we think it's doable. As the mayor mentioned, the critical section is that Epler curve area, getting across that curve with a structure that is supported appropriately. So certainly we think we can do this a lot cheaper. You know, we always hear about the Magnificent Mile and the beauty that is down there, and I would certainly echo that statement. Getting back to Councilmember Shields' question, could we fill that failed area back in and just put a trail there? I guess you could. I don't know if we could get somebody to put their seal on it. If that was possible. It has failed in the past. But that would be a challenge, I guess, is could we do that in a way that somewhat, there's obviously no guarantees, but we certainly wouldn't want to do it and then it washes back out quickly after that. But I guess anything's possible. I just don't know what that would look like completely yet.
Well, if I can clarify, and thank you for responding to that. Exactly. We don't know, and that's where we're throwing some money to another alternative. I was just saying, is it reasonable to throw money towards alternative that we want in a reduced fashion, understanding the risk for washout? That's what, but as you know, as I did math compared to 20 million, you know, we could get 200 years if a $1 million solution gets us even 10 years. So yeah, yeah, you're hearing.
I think that would be a great question for Rory when he presents, and I'll kind of give him a heads up. Maybe he can start thinking that way when he presents to kind of answer that more appropriately than I could. So great, thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
Thanks, Mayor. So of course, I think of the bike path as part of Parks and Recreation. And I also, over the past 2 years, have been a pretty strong advocate for a proposed millage for our Parks and Recreation. And considering that we've kind of put the kibosh on this year doing a millage, obviously, who's to say during the midterm elections or the general elections for next November of 2026, if we wouldn't like throw all these projects into one pot when we're considering a Parks and Recreation millage, not to bring it up from like the 1.1 mils that we were talking about, or $11 million over 10 years, but what if we're talking about like $20 million over a 10-year project? So that would bring us up to more mills. And that doesn't answer your question about approving this capital improvement plan for next year, but I think when we're thinking about these parks and recreation plans for the future, I think we should be putting this project in the wheelhouse of parks and recreation so that we can be considering conceptually a little bit bigger and then garnishing public will for a potential millage. So those are my thoughts today.
Mr. Moore,
Oh, did I raise my hand?
No, but
you didn't have.
Sure,
to.
yes,
I knew you wanted to speak.
Can I switch gears? Are we good to switch gears? Okay. So when we had the joint meeting between the Planning Commission and those of us here, I know that I suggested or strongly supported moving an item in 2027, a safety item, public safety item, to 2026. And I know at that point in time, Mr. Nachtraub voiced support for moving that as well. I think anytime, well, not anytime, but when we have a recommendation for availability of a safety item, I think it's really important that we consider moving that forward rather than backwards. So I would put that back on the table for my colleagues' consideration first, and then I have one other item.
Can I comment to that one?
Please.
One feedback I had was this is not gonna be these block is, whatever you wanna call them, are not going to fulfill the entire thing like for the parade route. This is something that's gonna end up being several streets, I understand. So you're not going to get, you're not gonna get the kind of coverage you would want for the entire parade with 2 locations or, Jason, do you know?
Yeah, the system that's in the CIP will cover about 96 feet of roadway. So that's maybe 4 lanes or 4 streets closure. So to do the entire parade route, which is once a year, we're talking probably in the neighborhood of $900 to $1 million. It's quite pricey. There's a number of streets that need to be blocked off if that's what you truly are looking for. The barrier system that's in the CIP now will start us off. We can play with it and utilize it for a large number of events. Farmers market's one of them. We would utilize it probably for like sidewalk sales. That would get your major streets, Mitchell and Lake Street closure. So.
I just thought it'd be important to point out, because I looked into how much, what was the total cost if we did the entire parade route, and it was like, well, I was told well over $1 million.
Yep.
So, Mr. Nachtraub.
And listen, during the joint session, you explained that, and from my perspective, this is all about maximizing safety of where we bring people together in a street and everybody's vulnerable. They're walking around, they're looking at whether the farmer's market, your eyes are everywhere and you're not paying any attention. So if we, particularly in today's world, if we can start with something with what you had, I think originally in 27 or 28, I forget, just do that part now. See how it works. Is it going to be a big pain to maneuver things around? Is it working as we all think it is? Then I would like to do more, but if we can just have several, if we do the farmer's market, sidewalk sales, anytime we have people that were walking around in the streets, I think it's not a feel-good thing. It's a practical thing to do.
Couldn't agree more. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, and I think that along with fiscal responsibility, public safety is our first duty. And when I look at dialogue about spending fund balance, this is the kind of thing I think we should be looking at. And so I will say that, but at least for now, I would suggest this be moved ahead to 2026 instead of 2027.
Mr. Shield.
I'm supportive in the amount that was planned for 2027, just bumping that to 2026. Moving.
I agree. public safety is number one. And knowing that we can do farmer's market, we can do sidewalk sales, that's a big step right there. There's several events, if not more, that we could utilize these things with. And I think it'll also give us the opportunity for staff to give a feedback along with City Manager Horn, get an idea, is this something that we can, is this affordable to continue to build on? Not just the cost of it, but manpower to place these, to remove these, et cetera. Okay, another change, Ms. Demore.
So I support City Manager Horn's proposal to remove the funding at this juncture from the budget for the Winter Sports Park Pavilion project. So at our December 16th City Council meeting, I didn't vote to move the pavilion project forward, given the funding deficit to execute the project, the pending master planning process, and the associated community input process that's now underway to best assess the use of limited taxpayer funds relative to the Winter Sports Park. At that time, my council colleagues, not including Mr. Nachtraub, who was not with us at that time, voted 4-1 to move the pavilion engineering and design process forward, pending the receipt of final builds for review and approval by City Council. Given that those bids have not yet been received and considered by City Council, I don't support the inclusion of a 2026 allocation of $2.9 million in the CIP for that purpose at this point. Having noted my opposition on the record this evening, I otherwise support moving the balance of the CIP forward pending our discussions this evening. In other words, I'm not going to vote against the entire CIP because of this, but wanted on the record to express that I think it's better that we take a look at what those bids produce before we put it in the 2026 budget.
I think that was, I think City Manager mentioned that, didn't he?
Yes, and I was
Yeah,
speaking in
So
favor
you're
of that.
speaking in favor of what he's, okay, all right, yeah. So I agree with you that that's for future discussion. There's nothing to put your finger on as far as a cost. And until it is, this capital improvement plan, when is the deadline for this to be passed?
I'll look at Audrey for that.
Tonight.
Is it tonight? Yeah. She kind of slapped me earlier when I said
Tonight.
it doesn't need to be voted on tonight. Well, yeah. We adapt.
Ms. Walker.
Okay, so Tina, in summary, would you say like we're almost in the same position that we were last year at the same time? Because we still don't have like the numbers.
Right.
And it was at the joint planning commission and city council capital improvement plan meeting in 2024 when we were like shocked that the whole Winter Sports Park project was like in there and part of the capital improvement plan. And we were like, wait a minute. We were a little like, not like lambasted with information that we weren't prepared for, but it almost feels like we're still in the same, because it really does take this long to get public opinion, get them involved in the master planning process, go back, look at the numbers again, updated to inflation, tariffs, all the other economic factors. So it almost feels like it takes about a year in order to prepare yourself for a capital improvement plan or a master plan for each individual big ticket item. I just feel like we're in the same place that we were last year, but we're getting close, but we're still not quite there in terms of budgetary improvement and capital improvement plan authorization. Is that not a fair assessment or?
No, I think it's accurate. It's just anytime you're speaking, and I'm learning this because I'm still somewhat new to the community. Winter Sports Park is a cherished, treasured location, and a lot of people have views and viewpoints, and they have a lot of history at that site and a lot of memories, and so they want to continue that. And so there's a lot of people that have different views on what should remain there, and so I respect that and want to take all that in. And at the same point, we have a budget, just like you do at home, that we try to work with and around. And so as much as we would love to do everything possible there, it's gonna have to be in steps and phases, if you will. And we try to take all that feedback into account when we bring stuff forward. But really what it boils down to is what does the bids look like? And I think that's the data that you all need to make that final determination.
Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Manager Horn. Yes, but all of these things are kind of what the bids are like.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, if the plan proposed was a loan from enterprise fund, and if we can say, city staff can say, yeah, the enterprise fund is healthy enough that it wouldn't hurt that, I'm supportive of that. I feel like going back to a year ago, gone through a lot. We've kind of come up with a way forward. I'm supportive of this way forward, given that, the proposed plan of the enterprise fund is fiscally sound.
I would say, I kind of brought that as an option forward. I'm kind of hedging a little bit on that, just because of all of the cleanup expenses that we've had this summer.
Right.
And we've got a number of fairly substantial undergrounding projects. Those are very expensive projects. So, and talking to Audrey and talking to Jason, we have some big projects in that fund on the horizon. We're still paying back a general fund loan currently. So maybe, shifting gears a little bit, maybe that's more of a dedicated use of general fund balance and focusing more on that aspect. But certainly that's a decision that you all can make. I did have our city attorney review that legal question about an intergovernmental loan and kind of the history of that and court proceedings in that way. She has provided that input and guidance, and I'm happy to share that out if that's a direction you all want to further pursue. But I certainly appreciate that avenue and that option, but maybe as we've evolved here, really looking to focus more on the general fund aspect of that use is another option.
And this capital improvement plan is basically a wish list in most ways. And we will be seeing the stuff to have to approve a budget for next year coming up in November, December. So that is the most important part of this piece, is the 2026. 2027 are kind of like blocks that we've set up to try to climb up where we're going. Those move, and as you know, we've shifted back and forth. So, Mr. Knoptrop.
Can I change the subject? When Kendall, this is on the skating rink. When Kendall first presented this a few months ago, and we talked about the grant, and I was a little reluctant on the whole skate park. And I went along with it at the end because of the grant. Now that the grant's not coming, I wonder about that. And it's not so much I'm not against the skate park. I would love to have a heck of a lot more information on the utilization of our parks. And I know, I talked with Kendall, and I know you mentioned it too, Shane, is that we had the opportunity to buy the software that we could start measuring utilization in all our parks. And it sure seems to me that data makes sense to have. It's the whole geofencing concept. And it would help at least me, and I would think would help everybody to know, with all the things we want to do in the various parks, what is the current, I've gotten 2 or 3 emails from people not wanting to do a whole lot with, like Lockwood, and they're not wanting to do a whole lot. And so it would be good to have that data, and I hope you can get that into your budget this year.
That is at this point penciled into our budget, and certainly you all have the final say on that. I will say that a few of those pieces of equipment are to the point where we need to either remove them from that park or close the park until we address this, because we talk about safety. That's a liability issue that we have. If we choose to do nothing, I think we're going to have to take a few of those components out of the park.
I'm supportive of doing a decent job on this park.
too.
I've been by there enough. I've gone down with Kendall, at least one or two families, kids that wanted to meet with Kendall and he took me along and we went and we met a parent down there. The stuff is, it isn't that we can repair this stuff because there are no parts and pieces anymore. The companies are gone. And I think, you know, one thing about this geo measuring of who's using the park, that's for what's there now. And if you put in a child's playground up at Curtis Park, I'm sure you would not get any numbers saying how many little kids play in that park right now, because there really isn't anything to play in there. But if you had that park in there, I think you would see the numbers would expand greatly. So I think we have to also not only go with what's being used now, but envision what would be used if those parts and pieces are put into a park.
Right.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Shane. I really think that when we consider the skate park, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars of private investment happening at Maple Block and at Lofts at Lumber Square. That park is absolutely adjacent, right next door to Maple Block. And Parks and Recreation staff are very well versed in how often parks are being used, because they're swapping out the trash cans and they're doing the maintenance in those facilities on a daily basis, Monday through Friday and on the weekends as well. So I think we already have those numbers about how well parks are being utilized, and living in that neighborhood, that the skate park being in Ward 4 and the millions of, or the hundreds of people that are going to be living in that neighborhood, or I think it's well worth the investment. And I think that park needs to have that skate equipment repaired immediately. I don't like the idea of maybe closing down that section of the park and removing the equipment, but like closing the whole park down, I'm like, I don't really like that idea either. And general fund dollars always go to public safety, and they always go to Parks and Recreation. Anywhere from 28 to 32% per department consumes the general fund dollars, and including like about 10% going to administrative staff. So, you know, that's why the Department of Public Works and our utility company gets a lot of kudos, because they make their own money and they are an enterprise fund. And if we're talking about an intergovernmental loan, would that be from the enterprise fund that you're talking about going to Parks and Recreation? Okay. And right now, with the utility companies and either being reimbursed by FEMA for their expenses or not, as a public utility, I would hate to see the alternative be that we raise the rates on the consumer, which is what the private sector is going to be poised to do right now with their utility companies if they don't get reimbursement. So there's so many factors to consider in our capital improvement plan and so many unknown variables. But I really feel like we should be committed and stay the course with the skate park because of all that investment that is happening in housing in that neighborhood, and that is absolutely adjacent to recreating for those residents of those new complexes.
I couldn't agree more, and I think doing half of it, let's just do it. Let's get the thing done. Let's make it a quality park for kids. It's been used over the years. It's been worn out is what it is. And
So are you suggesting, do have like a 150 to replace what is needed? Are you saying?
I'm saying the whole 300,000 and just to get it done with. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a project for kids. This is a project for kids that a lot of times are not driving. You don't see a lot of kids. You do see some people drive in there. I walk by there multiple times a week. I think it's for kids, not just kids, but adults. I know there were 3 guys in their 20s, I was told, that came to the Parks and Rec meeting to discuss it because they said, you know, we're going to have to start driving someplace else because you got to fix this thing because it's broken.
Yeah.
And I think we either tear it all out and get rid of it and say we're not going to have it, or you do a class A job and you put it back and you make it available for kids that are growing up in this community for the next 20 to 30 years, some that are not even born yet, but it'll last, it'll well pay it for itself for kids' recreation, for the investment for the long run. You know, let's not piecemeal this thing. Let's just put it in the budget. Let's find the money available. Let's use the enterprise fund. It is a healthy enterprise fund that we can borrow from. Or go to our secondary savings that we have. But I think let's get this project done. We owe it to the kids of this community to fix it. That's my stand.
I mean, the other side of this is, on January 1st, 2026, that doesn't mean that all these projects are going to be constructed. We're going to keep a very close watch and eye on state and federal changes of the political climate and budgets getting passed. And if we need to really take a hard look at this and constrict what was approved, certainly we'll work with each of you to make those determinations. But that's why I've always told staff, don't get married to any one of your projects, because if things start tightening up, we may need to punt on a few of these things based on things that may be out of our control. So we're always watching the maneuverings of the state and federal government to see kind of what's in the wind, if you will.
Maybe this is the time to get a hold of the Michigan House and Senate representatives here and state, if you cannot support us on a $20 million project, will you come up with 300,000 or 400,000 for the skate park?
Can you please just pass a budget? Let's just.
I
Can you
agree.
please pass a budget, guys?
But at the same point, I think we need to be looking and putting our hand out and raising our hand when funds are available. Right now, the House and the Senate are negotiation for all of this stuff. And I what's better than kids? And I call it safety for kids, because it gives them something to do rather than trouble.
Just for the record, I get it and I agree. The trailway, we have a priority on the whole access. Kids are driving on the 31. We need to fix that too.
I agree.
So I don't know how do you decide the skateboard is more important than having someone possibly get hit by a car?
I'm not saying that's a priority over it. I'm saying we should be able to do both.
But if we can do both, that'd be great.
I see no reason why we can't do both. But we have to get some estimates on what the cost is for going above on the north side of the road. The design was for going across by Burger King, crossing the road, going all the way to the fairgrounds, past Epler, which you got a terrible street to cross. And then they were gonna build a tunnel underneath the highway to bring it back across. And it was gonna be millions and millions of dollars as well. And it was felt that probably wasn't feasible with going with a tunnel underneath there. So I'm saying, let's get this report done on the $21 to $30 million project, and then let's move forward on getting something designed for up above, ASAP. Mr. Moore.
So I saw something that Mr. Nachtraub wrote. This is going to be a partial quote here.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not. No. We need to create a plan to vet the unfunded projects in terms of need and benefit to all taxpayers. That really is the mission, but when the book looks like this, I don't know the process really to get to that, but I couldn't agree with you more. That's really the key. There's so many wants and needs, and you have finite resources. So how do you get an overview to assess exactly what we're talking about here? It's very challenging, but I agree with the sentiment.
That's why we're sitting up here. That's why people elected us. And they elected us to make the hard decisions and not continuing to kick the ball down the road and not continuing to say we need to continue to survey when we live here and we should have a good feel for what does a person want in this community for care of stuff such as the skate park and such as getting the road, the piece off the highway. I think we all agree those are two important things. And I think moving them into this process and getting them onto the front burner is important. Would you entertain the idea of putting that skate park, move it up to this next year?
I think it's.
It is in this year.
It is, but it's not fun, but with not having the funding, that looks like, is that right? It's concerns over the funding?
No, we were just looking at different options because
Okay.
different options to cut back something. But if we are not including tonight, if we're not including the winter sports park, we're all set with everything else. Yeah, there's so much that is contingent upon that, but we do have fund balance available to use.
To use for the skate park.
Because when we get the budget done, you know, there are a couple things we could cut here if we want to keep the state skate park. Fire station renovations, we could cut that down from 50 to something else.
The paving of the wheel, is the paving of the wheelway part of Parks Rec or is that a separate fund?
No, that's general fund,
It is general fund.
that's in Parks and Rec, and it just became an annual cost of
So
the
that
one,
could be a potential.
the 150. So yes, there's things we could do once we get all the numbers.
Does that include the public safety item that we've discussed this evening? Because I thought I heard consensus on moving that forward as well.
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So those are all in there. Are you good with where we're at right now? I'm very happy that we moved some of this understanding of where we're at. And I'm really happy we're taking the winter sports park and saying it's over here right now because we don't have prices. We're gonna continue to move on the rest of the stuff, but put that over there on the back burner until we get numbers and we can come back and readjust as we go. Mr. Knobtrop.
Can we just go ahead and make a motion to do that now?
You
If you're
should.
done with it?
Who's gonna finesse
you
the
could.
motion? That's what I want to hear. right
You could, and then here's the deal. You could do that. We can then have a second. We can then have open discussion, or we can continue to have discussion. I'm Mr. Knobtrop.
I would be happy to make a motion to accept the 26th capital improvement plan, excluding the Winter Park 2.9 million for now until we get the full set of bids. Period.
Does that
Do I
work,
have a
Sarah?
second?
It's really the 2026 to 2031.
It's the whole.
Oh,
deal.
yes, yes.
Yeah, the whole plan.
Well, and then moving forward, moving forward the barrier from
Yeah.
27 to 26 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
This stuff.
And
Support.
Okay. Okay, now let's straighten this out here.
No,
we'll take into account the changes by the planning commission. Any concern with those tweaks, the changes, the movements? Okay. We'll incorporate those changes as well.
You good with that, Mr. Knobtrop?
Yes, I am.
Any changes, Riverbend Skate Park, keep it as presented.
that's what, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Let's, please, looking for a no head, otherwise it's a yes, okay. Other things, Sarah?
I just have a motion from Trab to approve the 2026 to 2031 CIP excluding the Winter Sports Park project until the bids are received. Move the modular barrier system up to 2026 and incorporate the two items the planning commission unanimously recommended.
Bingo.
That was your motion,
That was my
correct?
motion.
Do I have a second?
I seconded it, but I have a question.
That's okay, we'll have discussion after. So I have a motion from Mr. Knobtrop and a second from Ms. Demore. Now we will go back and we can have discussion by council before I go to public. Mr. Moore,
I just have a question about the motion.
please.
Are we including the current budgeted amount for the skateboard park or the amount that the mayor has proposed?
What is the difference?
Yeah.
They're both were 300.
They're 300.
Just as
Oh.
150 is unfunded.
Okay,
They talked of splitting it.
understood. Thank you for the clarification.
But it's 300, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you feel that that 300 will give us a good, healthy skate park for kids?
Yes.
That's not cutting corners, making it look like somebody comes in there and goes, geez,
Nope.
this is for 5-year-old. No.
We have a very good quote in hand and
All right.
that'll get it done.
Sounds good. Any other discussion? Mr. Moore,
I have one more safety question for Mr. Fate, if I could,
Mr.
please.
Fay, could you please come to the podium?
Thank you. So relative to after action regarding the ice storm, I know that we've moved up projects Petoskey 1 and Petoskey 5 as a result of kind of post-storm learning. My question to you is, in your expert judgment, is there anything else that we should be looking at to move up to be proactive should that type or another type of emergency come forward? Thank you.
When we did evaluate that, we looked at the whole 5-year plan and we did shuffle projects throughout that 5-year plan. In doing so, we tried to stay on budget without spending down fund balance and maintaining, fiscal responsibility. So I feel like moving Petoskey 1 and 5 up, it's in the neighborhood of $780,000. That's a big shift from what our plan was last year. And then beyond that, yeah, sure, don't kid me. I'd love to have 100% system that's underground, but that's still gonna take us many years to do. But so, yeah, I do feel like we've made great improvements.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. And as Mr. Nachtraub had mentioned, and just, I heard him comment, so I don't want to steal your thunder here, but also the undergrounding of our electrical wires and, any ways to speed that up is, I know, I'm just thinking Wakazoo, Carlton and Myrtle Streets. And I don't see a street renovation plan for those. And so then my concern, okay, is that how long out till they get undergrounded? And is there a way to prioritize that?
I think we have Carlton and Myrtle Street area in there. I don't know what year it is in this next 6 years, though. I think it's out towards the end. But that doesn't mean that you mentioned streets. So we're constantly evaluating every year. That's why if you look at the capital improvements plan for streets, we only really dictate the next 2 years because our winters have really been hard on our streets. So they're constantly changing. So, like the Rose and Bay Street, last year's winter really played a toll on that neighborhood. In the spring, we found lots of pavement chunks and gravel down on Division Street, so we're losing the street. So we've spent significant time patching that street in comparison to Wakazoo and some of the other streets on the hills. So it's an ever-changing thing. That doesn't mean that undergrounding can't happen ahead of that. Howard Street's a prime example. We have numerous segments of Howard Street that have been undergrounded over a period of years. And now we're, putting the final touches on that and then reconstructing the street.
Thank you.
I want to clarify something what you said or a follow-up on what you said. Could you, or do you have the capacity to increase the level of underground projects if the money was there? Or are you pretty much at capacity with logistics and getting all the cast of characters together to do all their things? Could take it off the poles and.
Anything's possible. That would probably require hiring additional contractors, which in this climate right now, we're finding that is difficult. There's a lot of work out there.
So from a practical standpoint, your staff is about as, you're doing it as fast as you physically can.
Yes, because our electric crews do the majority of pulling the wires in, setting transformers, setting lights, and then terminating, tearing down the old, and then firing up the new. On top of that, they're also doing the maintenance of the system, our street lights, signals, maintaining service for everybody else in the city. So I would think if we were to push more work on them, that would probably stretch them.
Anything else, Council, Mr. Shields?
Just one comment for the record, it's not going to stop me from supporting the CIP tonight, but in the slope restoration project, I look forward to further discussions on that and may not be supportive of that in future budget conditions if it's as worded about looking at the wheel line and north side of 31 to East Park. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, before you go there, I do have another correction if you may want to consider amending your motion. We did find that the dog park project, continuing that project, it's not a TIFA eligible project, so that would need to come out of Parks General. In talking with Kendall and the mayor further, I think we probably don't need that amount of allocation, so maybe bringing that down to 50,000 should get us to where we need to be able to fence in that appropriately and get that open for next spring. But that would need to come out of TIFA, which is shoreline development, bay development, that would not be a TIFA eligible project. So that's the way it's considered in your plan. So I would need to move that into Parks General.
Mr. Moore.
Just a point of clarification, City Manager Horn, what was the budget allocation in the book?
It was
100,000.
Just to clarify for the modification of the motion, so we're gonna bring it down to 50.
We're gonna bring it down to 50, but take it from TIFA to Parks out of general fund.
Yeah, I'm okay with modifying.
Are you okay with that?
With that, yeah, I am.
The second person.
I am.
Okay. Council, you understand that new piece? Part of the dog park thing also is, we get a small pavilion thing or something, so somebody to sit into and stuff. We feel that we can go to the public and we can ask for some GoFundMe for this. There are some people that have dogs that have actually, one took his checkbook out at a meeting that we had with the dog people. And so I think there is a want to participate, and I think it's good to get the community participating in this dog park. So I see that 50,000 that we will work with the public on this.
The Michigan My Places grant is a crowdfunding.
Yes. Yep.
Similar to how the pickleball people kind of organized themselves and fundraised over
Yes.
$200,000 to
Yep.
get more pickleball courts.
Yep, same thing. So So any other discussions? I go to the public to weigh in. Is there somebody in the public that wishes to speak to this? If you do, you come up, push the button, give us your full name, full address, and you address council, not the audience.
Charlie Wilmot, 1128 Valley View Avenue. Good evening.
Good evening.
Speaking of the ice storm, we hope it doesn't happen again. But we'd also like to be better prepared in the event that a similar crisis occurs in our future. And one of the things that I've heard casually discussed was being prepared to open more than just City Hall as a potential shelter. And that would require a generator, a facility, an appropriate facility that is generator powered. And I also know that there was some casual discussion about the possibility of engaging in that discussion with the school district. And I'm curious to know, since that is a pressing safety issue, potentially, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on where that should be in the budget or where we are in the discussion with, what is the status of that discussion? Thank you.
Well, I guess I could speak to that, in part. City manager and I have discussed meeting with school superintendent Jeffrey Leslie, to sit down and talk with him. He informed me that he came from New Buffalo, Michigan. All of the schools have a generator in the school. Every school has their own generator. And I think working with the schools, those are a much better place than to have people sleeping on the floor like we had right in here. There were people sleeping on the floors right in here. And I think that it would really be great. They have a cafeteria, they have a gym, they have a classrooms separation if they wanted to have kids in there rather than, you wanted to have a play area. So I think that's, Shane is going to set up a time for us to sit down with Jeffrey. He knows that we're interested in talking. I think it would be great for us to work with them. Possibly they have funds with their sinking fund that they've had issues with trying to come up with projects, I've understood, for their sinking fund that was voted on, and they have money coming in each year. Possibly we could work with them and get a school district, a school building, high school, middle school, that could be served as a warming place and not City Hall, that the city could then work with them as well on and support that project. So thank you for the question, Mr. Wilmot. We are looking at that. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this point, ladies and gentlemen? Sir.
Jared Manganelli, 1510 Willis Ave. Just wanted to show my full support for the skate park getting updates. Fully agree with the need for improvements. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people who use the park, but a lot of people hesitate to bring up just the shape it's in because they're worried it's going to get taken out, and that's the end of it. There's ramps that are rusting through that have holes in them. Panels on the half pipe, the bigger ramp that's in the corner, peeling up. And I'm just in support of seeing it on this upcoming year, because I think if it gets continued to get pushed year after year, it's not going to always get seen as a priority. And you guys said that, who knows how many people use it? Well, there's a lot of people that use it, all different ages. And that's at a point in time where it is out of date and it's falling apart. So with it being renovated, with modern technology, within budget, it's going to last, who knows, 100 years if it's concrete. It's going to stand the test of the weather, but it's going to be used. I mean, if you think about it, Harbor Springs has a park, Charlevoix has a park. The next closest park is maybe Traverse City. So people travel for these. Harbor Springs got built this past year. People were coming from Ohio, who I was meeting, out of state to come see these places. So it brings in people, and it's going to bring in everything that comes with people, with more business and everything around that. So just wanted to show support, and thank you very much.
We'll see you at the ribbon cutting.
Write it up.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? Anybody online wish to speak to council? There being none, I'm going to go to Miss Beck for roll.
Naktrab for the CIP motion, amended motion.
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Motion passes 5-0. We only have 6-7 more things on the agenda.
Excuse me.
You would like to speak, please?
Very briefly, I just want to let everybody know that the Youth Advisory Council meetings run till 8 o'clock, so no one should be offended if these folks need to leave, go do homework or other things. So if you want to stay, great, but if you need to go,
Feel free.
we understand. Thank you very much.
Or if you want to go. Need or want.
Of course, really see what it feels like? See.
I'll see you all. I'll see you all in October.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for joining. Okay. Wish I could go with them. Shane is saying, come on, let's go. Okay, here we go.
Keep our questions down then.
Yes, first reading, so there should. First reading of proposed ordinance amending the parking for eating and drinking establishments. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. So at our, I don't see if I jotted that down. August 4th. So it's been a month or so since we've had this in front of you. Planning Commission approved this proposed ordinance amendment at their meeting on July 16. I had Lisa kind of put a scenario in front of you with some maybe some language that maybe clarified some things what we were trying to accomplish with this ask. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion on what we were trying to accomplish. So currently, the way this ordinance is constructed, the maximum is the minimum, or the minimum is the maximum, I guess. So there's really no discretionary waiver based on any specific project circumstances. The current standard based solely on occupancy, which is 2 parking spaces for each 5 seats. We believe that's on the low side and doesn't account for some of the employee parking, which pushes that need, the necessity out into the neighborhoods and on street. So trying to incorporate that in new language, proposed language that essentially says 2 for every 5 seats plus 1 space per employee of the largest shift. So for this particular site, this potential developer, I believe, is requesting around, I believe, 12 parking spaces for his staff and for people that would come to the facility, if you will. So in Planning Commission's mind, this proposed change, the 2 for every 5 seats plus 1 space per employee of the largest shift. Again, which would be option 3, that in that example provides for, up to 16 parking spaces in the example that Lisa supplied. So again, what we're trying to accomplish is get more parking on the site and not push that onto the on-street. And this is a limited site. There's a very limited opportunity for redevelopment. We do have an Eagle Brownfield grant that we just had our kickoff meeting last week. So that project will start in earnest here shortly. You'll start seeing activity there. So on the back side of that cleanup is a proposed small restaurant facility, and this proposed change would allow that development, that project to move forward. It doesn't address all the parking concerns that some of you have. I understand that. This is kind of somewhat of maybe a stopgap measure at this point. But for this particular development, I think this would get this project moving forward. Otherwise, I think potentially we have some challenges on trying to redevelop that site.
What is the drawback to this? If this is passed, what's the con to it? Is there one?
You asking me or your
You.
colleague?
I'm asking you, because you're well versed in this.
If it's passed, you're saying?
Yes. What, is there a drawback to this that you go, well, there is a gray area, or there is
I mean, I don't necessarily think there's any gray area. I mean, I think it's an improvement on what we have now, because right now there's no flexibility. It's the minimum and the maximum are the same. So I think this does provide a little bit of consideration for employees that need parking spaces as well on sites. So again, does it address the magnitude of parking challenges that we all see with the sea of potential parking and larger mall area developments? I mean, I think that needs to be addressed separately from what we're talking about tonight, but this is really focused on kind of a small, difficult site that doesn't have a lot of options.
And there's three options here, right? 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And the planning commission is recommending option 3.
We're at option 3, that's kind of what they think would. And it would solve, it would address the challenges that the developer has proposed. It would meet his needs
Jimmy.
for that site. Yeah.
Okay. Council, Mr. Knobtrop.
Yeah, I was one of the ones that were against it the last time it was presented. And I didn't realize the impact of the maximum minimum rule in that, which to me, the maximum having a minimum, that makes no sense. So I completely flipped my brain on this with the caveat based on what you said, Shane, to me, is this is a stopgap. We're gonna have a comprehensive zoning thing coming down the road. I assume it's the same as what Derek is talking about, maybe
Yep.
not different. I would just encourage us as whoever is developing that to be very, to have sensitivity to the minimum side on smaller parcels to the extent that it's possible in small towns or small areas, so that small businesses can operate and not eliminate it. But really relax the maximum side of it. If we have to have these rules, don't have minimum maximum, have a maximum allowed to be whatever they want to have personally. And we want to encourage community restaurants and businesses not to push everybody in the big box. So I'm completely in favor of this, assuming you're going to address the global issue later.
Mr. Shields.
So the minimum, so this will, if we went with option 3, the minimum would be 16. Am I correct in that understanding? Okay, yeah, I remain very, very much opposed to this, and I think this is running opposite of what a lot of cities around the country are doing, and limiting parking minimums. And so to increase parking minimums, I think we are running counter and opposite to a walkable community. I think we are, there's many more spaces, parking spaces than households in our community. I think by moving this forward, even if it's just a one-time, we're stopgap measure, we're setting a pretty poor precedent. There's creating less space devoted to, or creating less space, or having policies that devote less space to parking will lead to more vibrant and self-reliant communities. We'll have more spaces that we like, and will be greater tax revenue because parking areas do not generate any tax revenue. I think the public, I know the concern with people parking in front of their homes, and that congestion on our residential streets. I understand that concern, but frankly, those are public parking spaces. We as residents do not own the street parking spots in front of us. And I think there are plenty of places for people to park on our residential streets that will, at this point, won't be congested. I think this goes the wrong way, and I'm not ready to support it.
Can I just, and I appreciate what you're saying, Derek, because I was there and I am there with you. The thing that for me that flipped it is if we don't do anything right now without unless we just eliminate it altogether, which it sounds like that's not even within the realm of possibility, that the property owner won't be able to develop this at all because of the maximum problem. And I'm just saying, because I generally agree with your general direction. And when we have the comprehensive program presented to us, I'm certainly, because I am very much pro use of property the way the business people want to do it. And I don't like the restrictions either, but I thought we didn't have much of a choice right this second, but.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Knobtrop. I could be swayed as well if it wasn't also saying that we're talking about the minimum. But we're talking, if it was just, raising the max, okay. I think that we're talking about a large scale developer in the fact that it's a chain restaurant. A local small scale developer may say, hey, I'm going to depend on walkable, what people can walk and bike ride to my spot, and 6 spaces is I can make it work. So that's where another thing was we can support local small developers and owners with these smaller min maximums, and increasing them runs the opposite of that in my mind. So at this point, I don't see, I see, yes, it'll hurt the loss if we lose this developer. That is something to weigh, but I don't think that outweighs my opposition to this at this point.
I see this addressing not just the seats, but addressing the employees, especially with the businesses now moving to more and more drive-throughs. I think it's important for us. Some of you may not live by a business, right? Don't live by businesses, so you don't experience the parking, the traffic, and the stuff like this. Those that do, though, people speak up and say, I don't, why don't they park on their lots rather than in front of my house? I just feel it's, I think the planning commission has done a good job looking at this and came up with the number 16, which, by the way, also does not actually helps Jimmy John's if they get clearance with all of the permits on removal, etc. They'll be moving forward. This is not stopping it at all. It's moving Jimmy John forward. Mr. Moore.
So even if we assume hypothetically and respectfully that we have many more parking spots than we need in our community, that's really not relevant, in my judgment, to the unique needs that are presented here. Because somebody here, for example, can't go park where there's all kinds of parking spots at Big Lots, for example. So to me, proposal 3, option 3, is eminently reasonable. You're looking at 2 spaces for every 5 seats in the establishment, plus 1 space per employee of the largest shift. To my mind, this benefits both customers and business and employees. Oftentimes, employees come to work before the guests arrive, potentially not leaving spots for guests. And conversely, if guests arrive and there's later employees on another shift, they don't have any place to park. So with that said, I respectfully disagree.
Mayor, may I respond respectfully? Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Moore. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Respectfully, I feel like that's a little myopic. It's very in this moment, in this case, and is not considering larger community well-being. So, and the same thing goes to, you're correct, I do not live close to a business. So it's unfair for me to say, okay, it's okay for people to park in front of residential streets. I get that criticism, but I also, as a city council member, looking at the health of the whole community and thinking that parking minimums has an impact on the vibrancy of our placemaking, and also the economy and our tax revenue. I don't separate this small specific case from the whole impact. And I feel like moving in this direction hurts the larger interconnections of how we do placemaking.
But it was my understanding, and correct me, City Manager Horn, if I'm in error on this, that this is a placemaking placeholder proposition that we're undertaking right now with an eye toward a bigger look at this moving forward.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Knobs.
Yeah, so I want to really kind of drill this home too. Maybe we're spending way too much time on this, but what I'm hoping doesn't happen is, since our last meeting, I talked to the developer that did the Panera Bread. He's got like 60 or 70 of them around the country. I did a lot of research on other cities and what they're doing for parking. And I'm not such in favor of the details of the 1 space per employee. I'm not into that at all. And I'm hoping that we relax the maximum if somebody wants to use their land and have more parking, that we don't have the minimum maximum rule anymore, but we take whoever is doing this, really studies what other people are doing around the country and be cognizant of tight spaces and don't require one person for every person on the ship. That, places all over the country are not doing that. That is an option. But some best practices are out there, and I just hope that the zoning board takes a look at that, and that we don't all of a sudden say, this is it for Petoskey. That's all. But I know I'm with you, Tina, because it is a stopgap.
Miss Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. So, couple things. I agree with Derek in terms of best practices. If you're studying across the country, we have no public transportation in this community. Jimmy John's is a low-wage job. People that work at Jimmy John's either live outside of our community because Petoskey is the economic hub of our region. So people come from Alanson and Pellston and Boyne City and Boyne Falls and all over to work this and other type of jobs. So we have no public transportation. It's a low-wage employer traditionally. And there's already brownfield and public subsidies going to the redevelopment of this property. So my inclination is to do less for this developer, setting a precedent for minimum parking standards of 16, which is not best practices for walkability. So I kind of wonder about the intersection of all these things. Like, wow, this developer's gotten a lot from the city of Petoskey. So I kind of,
I don't know.
I wonder about that intersection as well, so.
I think that this, forget about the max. What we're dealing with basically are the minimal requirements, right? There's. We're
It
dealing
is,
with
and
the
this
minimal.
land has the ability to do this, and this is what the user wants. That's what's so interesting about this. This is not a bad thing right now. But I think we need to incorporate what Derek and Lindsay are saying, that it's real. There's a lot of I've hired a lot of fast food people in my life. And many times, their parents drop them off. They don't need parking spaces. Their parents drop them off to go to work and pick them up. They ride their bikes. And if we had public transportation, that'd be different. But there's for Jimmy John's type of people generally don't have cars. So we don't need to worry about one space for that. But yeah, I think we should just go on with this and then make sure these other things that we're all talking about is incorporated in the new zoning.
Anybody else wish to speak? Otherwise, entertain, are we first reading?
First reading.
Or first reading. This will come back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever, whatever we're at. Mr. Moore?
So can I just follow up though with my colleague Walker, because I guess I'm not understanding your argument, or your position. So if, a lot of people are traveling from, I think you said Boyne City, Atlanta, and that sort of thing.
Right.
And there's no public transportation, then for the most part, I'd expect maybe some come on bicycles, better in shape than I am. But they're probably coming in a vehicle, so they need a place to park.
Yep. And
Is that what?
I mean, I think it's multifaceted, like the wages are really low. So would that attract more local people or like part-time employees or younger people that may or may not have vehicles? I just think that there's, I feel like we're setting a policy for a specific development, but with the intention of like, okay, the central business district is exempt from all of this planning, but it involves our economic development and future developments outside of the central business district. I don't know, I feel like it's a slippery slope with the maximum parking requirements. I think that would be like option number 3 would be the extreme there. But I also know that like, okay, so the wages aren't that great. We have a public transportation issue as well. And we also, in that immediate vicinity, there is literally nowhere, no residential parking there. Like you can't park on Conable Avenue because you have fast food and the walk-in clinic there, and then you have Lincoln School. You absolutely cannot park on Charlevoix Avenue. So then that site, it's so small. And like, we're gonna allow up to 16 parking spaces there. I guess it's just, considering that there's no public transportation, this is like historically low wage job. And, you know, how many employees at Jimmy John's, how many tables are in who eats in Jimmy John's? It's usually like a to-go place, but I guess people do dine in. And how many employees do they have at any given time? A cashier, a delivery driver, and like maybe 3 employees making sandwiches?
And
think
what
that's-
happens though, if Jimmy John is here 1 year and moves out? And now you've got a building there where if you have no need for parking and yet it changes to a different type of a restaurant or, you know, I think that these numbers are good. I think to go with it right now. And we'll be getting more numbers in the future from the planning commission, some input on it. And we can rehash this whole thing. But right now, I think this will move it forward and gives us some standard to build off of.
I mean, I think I see addition by subtraction. We're getting rid of a blighted, contaminated site. It could just be more parking for the urgent care. They're kind of doing that now illegally, using that other lot to park. So this would at least provide a new development, more taxes coming into our community, and get the parking situation straightened out so their urgent care staff are parking on their site as they should and not going on to a vacant, abandoned, contaminated site. We're addition by subtraction.
Want to rehash this again in next meeting? You good? I take it you want to move on since it's 8:30. We will go to the next one then. Adoption of the proposed, oh, wait. First reading of a proposed ordinance amending chapter 8, article 5, Roman numeral 5, regulating transient merchants. And I'll turn it over to City Manager Horn.
I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed city clerk, who's worked closely with our city attorney to kind of update an ordinance that dates back, how long?
1935.
Got a little age on it. So, Sarah?
So, as Shane said, this is a very old ordinance. It is governed by Act 51 of 1925. So the city originally adopted the ordinance in 1935 and has been amended, I think, 1 or 2 times, the latest in 1982. So it's several years old. So with the help of our city attorney, we did update this because many of the provisions originally were outdated or simply not necessary. So as you guys can read, the definition of transient merchant, it means any person, firm, association, or corporation engaging temporarily in a retail sale of goods, wares, or merchandise in any place in the city and who, for the purpose of conducting business, occupies any lot, building, room, or structure of any kind. So this ordinance regulates the temporary retail sale of goods and wares, public property and on private property. So it does give the city enforcement measures if we have an ordinance in place. We're not required to have this ordinance, but it is a helpful enforcement tool to have. So with some of these outdated requirements has put a little bit of burden on my office in the sense that it's hard to decipher sometimes who's exempt, who are not exempt based on the exemptions in the state or the act, excuse me. And a lot of this language, and Laura can chime in, is generated, excuse me, from the act. So some things we can't really sway too far away from. So that is an issue, the exemptions. For example, if you're wondering what, so it says if you raise, produce, or manufacture things for sale, if someone makes their own t-shirt, are they really making their own t-shirt or they're just using the design? So there's a little bit of gray area for me. But that's, I guess, where I would lean on legal counsel to walk me through. Obviously, you see that if there's a farmer's market, a lot of these vendors would be exempt. If they're operating at the fairgrounds, if they're at the art fair, as long as they're complying with the other conditions that are identified in that ordinance. So I will give you a little bit more background. I would say I probably do less than 10 of these a year. So we really don't do a lot of these applications or requests. The last few years, there has been an increase specifically on a few events that happened in August. So that has increased a little bit. I'll also mention that I get several phone calls throughout the year and have for many, many years of more of a broader discussion on solicitors, buskers, panhandlers, these transient merchants. So I have asked legal counsel to do a little research legally to bring a discussion item to you folks, to have a discussion on how we as a city want to regulate all of these types of organizations and or individuals, and legally what can we do? Because we don't want to go into too much violation of First Right Amendment. There are some exemptions for political groups, religious groups, social groups, as far as canvassing more of a social aspect that affects everyone. So that will be forthcoming. Foster Swift is working on that for me, but tonight, this is just something that even 8-9 years ago with the previous city clerk, he and I were working on this and it just kept getting pushed, so.
Sarah, can I jump in with a couple of quick thoughts?
Please.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything Sarah said, and just kind of big picture, because we don't use the term transient merchant usually in our daily language. But this is really, the statute is intended, and local ordinances like this are intended to protect the public from people or companies who are sort of fly by night. They come into town and they're gone the next day. And if they scam somebody or sell a defective product, we have no way of, the consumer has no way of chasing those people down. So think of, a tent that pops up in a parking lot selling something, it used to be watches or, good deals on things, or the door-to-door salespeople for actual items that they have with them. This doesn't include, for example, the local roofing company going to solicit businesses. That doesn't fall within the scope of this. So in that regard, it's sort of narrow to people coming into town or being in town temporarily selling wares or merchandise, and making sure there is some mechanism to try at least to protect the public in case there is an issue later. And if they're doing it without the license and there are complaints about it, then the city would have the authority to, tell them to get out of town effectively.
Mr. Moore.
Well, I certainly appreciate that we cannot function under the statute or the ordinance from the 1930s, which required the clerk to investigate the moral character of
Correct.
individuals. But
How very subjective.
But at the same time, when I read this, to me, there are so many exceptions that I really don't get to whom this applies, number one. And number two, one of the exceptions here, which is A1 or I, small I, that says, if, for example, it's not manufactured by the individual, well, it's not defined. So once again, it's left to Sarah to kind of suss out, well, what does that mean that it's manufactured? So I understand why we need updates, but I just have concerns that there's more exceptions than there are applications, and there maybe is not sufficient guidance relative to those things it does apply to. so that Sarah doesn't have to, with due respect, be calling you every time she's trying to figure out if somebody manufactured a shirt or not, so.
And that is, and I understand that completely. In fact, that is the statutory language in MCL 445-371. So that's not our language, and that exception for selling good wares or merchandise raised, produced, or manufactured by the individual. And perhaps, as with a lot of things, a little bit of flexibility is appropriate. This ordinance is not intended to go after the Girl Scout selling friendship bracelets. Well, she didn't make the thread, but she weaved it together and made the end product, or tie-dyeing a t-shirt. So I think a little bit of discretion there is okay. Where what we're really trying to do, and what again the statute is trying to do, is prevent against people coming in to sell cheap ware. I shouldn't say cheap, they could be expensive wares, but bringing a product in and us not having any information, or the public not having any way to know really who that seller is, if they have an issue with them later. If they're selling iPhones out of a, tent in the Meijer parking lot, just for an example, and, the phone catches on fire the next day, that's kind of maybe an extraordinary example. But that's the whole reason there is a statute for this, old as it is. Used to be, selling encyclopedias door to door, right? I haven't had one of those come to my door in a while. But that's the intent of it. And certainly, as Sarah pointed out, it's not required that you have this. But the reason it's there is if you do have somebody call and say, hey, somebody came to my door selling this, do you know anything about that? Or somebody's got this tent set up, are they allowed to do that? Then we at least have answers for whether that's something that does or doesn't require approval.
And it doesn't mean that you are going to hammer anybody that is not within the law for letter by letter. It simply gives the city opportunity to have some flexibility to this, I take it.
Right, so if they're within the scope of this, then they need to apply and basically get permission, right, to get a license to conduct that business in the city, so that the city knows who they are, where they're incorporated, where they're going to be conducting business, for how long, and have a fee that they pay. The statute requires a bond. Sarah did a little digging around. Not sure many people actually pay that, but there's a bond that's supposed to be paid to the county. But Sarah, you can speak to that. Only like one county clerk knew what was going on with that. Is that right?
Correct. And Emmett County treasurer, no, not the clerk, it was the treasurer, I believe. And Emmett County treasurer did not know what I was talking about. So she did some digging, and yeah, this is not on her radar.
Right.
Okay. Council, are you good moving this forward to second reading and possible adoption in the next meeting? Or do you have questions and concerns still?
I was just like Tina, my whole comment was it looked like it exempted, the exempt people are the vast majority. And this is pretty minor people that apply.
Yep, I think that's a fair assessment. It is a narrow group that it applies to, because the idea is that the higher risk is in those groups that it does apply to, which is those coming in to sell things temporarily. It doesn't apply to permanent businesses, obviously. And we're also not trying to target, farmers markets and local art festivals and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Moore.
So Laura, despite all the exceptions, then you still recommend that we have this in place?
I think there's benefits to having it, even if there is 10 inquiries a year, that's 10 inquiries. And I think it can be unsettling for people if they do have somebody selling things door to door, and they call and the city doesn't know what's going on, and we say, no, we don't regulate that. So it's certainly a policy decision whether you have something in place or not. But since you've had it for such a long time, we just wanted to update it so it at least is readable and doesn't require Sarah to assess people's moral character. I'm sure she'd be great at it, but
Really?
What do you think?
Sarah, you had mentioned that there was like a bunch of requests in the month of August. Was that related to the Waters Life Festival? Or is this like the tree debris cleaning companies that are soliciting residents to like help clean up their trees, debris from the storm?
So in the past couple years, yes, Water is Life. I think this was the third summer they've been here. And if you all recall, they came to council, was it last year or even the year before?
Yes.
That requested to waive fingerprinting, waive the surety bond, if I said that correctly, waive $1,000 cash bond. And they requested a lot, and administratively we did that. But with talking with Laura, again, like she just explained, it protects our community if it's a scam, if it's this. And I'm not saying there are vendors that attended these events that did this, because they absolutely didn't. But there's a reason that that was in place, and there's also a reason why it's still mentioned in the newer amended version. So yes, Water is Life is where the majority of these requests come from. There was also an event, a CrossFit event a couple years ago. I think we just had one, but no one had reached out. But a year or two ago, I also licensed a few transient traders. We're changing that term to merchants, but and the group that I work with Water is Life, I had mentioned that this was forthcoming. We've had a lot of ordinances over the last several months, so I kept pushing this one. So they're aware that you all may be discussing this and it may change, and that moving forward, we would, you know, just like any other ordinance, people would have to comply, so.
So what would be the complying by, you brought up Water is Life. What would it cost for, what is the cost to a presenter that's selling star-shaped hearts or something like that?
That isn't exempt, right? So this is why they would get licensed. So if they were not exempt, then currently,
Okay.
if they were doing an event, a one-day event, that fee is $25 per day.
Okay. All right.
But there was concern of the requests of the fingerprinting. Have you been in violation of a misdemeanor crime? Like the current ordinance that exists asks these questions and requires these bonds.
Can I ask another question, Mayor?
Please.
So would that also include like when we used to do Festival in the Bay?
Correct.
All those vendors had, and to like prove, like giving a, like $1,000 insurance bond, is that what you ask of a merchant?
So that's what's in the ordinance, and I may lean on Laura for some of these bond questions, because it's,
Yeah, I can imagine like an event like that, that's really low budget, that's like just people trying to get booths together to have more like fodder to attract more people to come down, like it's not like these are like permanent vendors that are doing festivals or things of that nature. I just think that they would probably put the kibosh on something like that, because the nature of the vendors in that event, and even at Festival of the Bay, you're not really selling a lot. And so, and the food trucks might be something different because they have to be licensed by the health department and go through different things. But I could see like that being, well, whatever. I mean, they probably wouldn't be able to do the event, and then they would go to like tribal government where they do things like sponsor local artists and allow the booths to be free because you want to incentivize economic development for historically like people that don't have access to those kind of wealth and resources.
So just to clarify, the $1,000 bond requirement is in your current ordinance. It's not in the revised ordinance. It was taken out. Yeah. So it's eliminating that requirement.
Mr. Moore.
So Laura, are there any First Amendment or constitutional issues that intersect with this?
Not with this one. This one is just on the sale of goods, and there's very low constitutional protection for commercial sales of goods. That's why, and Sarah correctly noted that we'll deal with solicitors and buskers and things like that separately, because obviously that is where you get into issues. You cannot, for example, require religious folks going door to door. You cannot require them to get a permit. There's US Supreme Court case law to that effect. So kind of intentionally, logistically, it worked out, but also intentionally, I think it's good to discuss these items separately because this is a very narrow ordinance. It does not apply to people. It doesn't apply to you know, again, your local permanent businesses who are offering to give you a quote for new windows or things like that. It doesn't apply to that. It doesn't apply to services. It doesn't apply to food trucks. This is goods, wares, and merchandise on a temporary retail basis.
Thank you.
Good moving forward on this.
I just have one other point. So when we move, if you guys so choose to do a second reading and possible adoption, we will bring forward a fee resolution because that how currently the ordinance is stated, it's a fee per day, per week, and then a dollar amount for any number of months. And if you guys still want to do that, that's fine. If you don't, there is a different period of time that these licenses are good for. Because it says in the new ordinance, it's calendar year. So you get a license for the calendar year. So we're proposing instead of doing a daily permit, a weekly permit, or a seasonal, let's call it, or number of months, perhaps there may be one fee. So.
You understand? You good with that? Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Laura.
Of course.
Thanks, Lou.
Moving on to adoption of the proposed resolution that would authorize the city to enter into a retail energy improvement program project participation agreement with the Michigan Public Power Agency. Jason, come on down.
So as the mayor said, this is a program that's been named many things over the years. It's been termed energy waste reduction, clean energy, energy optimization plan. With all those names, the city's been doing this type of program since 2009. It was state mandated back then. We entered into a program. The program that you're probably used to hearing about is energy efficiency, LED lighting improvements, energy efficiency improvements to your homes. So there's a history that outlined in your information. Again, dates back to 2009. In 2021, the state mandate expired. The city continued with the third party, Franklin Energy, to continue this energy optimization program that expires now at the end of this year. The state in 2023 enacted PA 229. It's known as the Clean Energy, Renewable Energy and Energy Waste Reduction Act. So this amended the original act, PA 295. So with all that said, MPPA, we've been working as members of MPPA since 2009, and they've helped us play a critical role in implementing and coordinating these plans. So tonight I'm asking that the council approves this amendment or resolution to enter into this agreement with MPPA. They've issued an RFP for a third-party vendor. Franklin Energy, again, was the best candidate. And so they've signed a contract with them to move forward for fiscal years 26 through 2029. Any questions?
Questions? Mr. Knopf.
I feel like I always have a question, sorry. Is this something that we have to do one way or the other? We're gonna spend $250,000 a year for this kind of work.
It is state
Regardless of the benefit, regardless of the results, regardless of how many salaries these guys get paid for doing this.
It is state mandated, yes, yes. There is a state plan. We elected to not do the state plan because it's more costly. And we elected to go with our agency, MPPA, to implement this plan at a lower cost to the city and the consumer. And in return, we're going to get a better energy saving reduction. So the cost per kilowatt hour is less.
Thank you.
Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Director Fay. Is this similar, $250,000 cost to previous one that just expired?
It is not, and the reason for that is prior legislation, and then our elected option was to save 1% annually. The state has now mandated 1.5%, which is going to be a harder challenge. Reason being is we've already, since 2009, taken all the low fruit off. So in the upcoming plan, electric or lighting improvements for residents is not an option anymore. You know, we've beat that to death for, you know, all these years. And so now they're looking for more better bang for your dollar type of things, such as heat pumps and electrification, weatherization.
Ms. Walker.
So the city of Harbor Springs, I think, has a partnership with Franklin Energy, because in previous incarnations, they would bring, people could recycle their Freon containing devices or appliances at our facility, and then they would take their receipt, and then they would submit that to Franklin Energy for like a rebate of the $35 that it costs for the Freon removal. So I would think it would be something very similar, and I think that that program on our end of things worked really well. And I'm wondering, are there other public power agencies locally that, public utilities locally that are still continuing with the program or are still participating with Franklin?
Charlevoix and Harbor Springs are our closest
Okay.
MPPA members. I'm assuming that they have been participating like us
Okay.
in the last 3 years. And I'm not sure how they elected to go for moving forward.
Okay.
But I do know that there's a large majority of the MPPA membership intends to sign this agreement and move forward with MPPA and Franklin Energy.
And electrification would be a benefit for a local municipality or a public utility, because that's moving away from natural gas and going to electrification. So a household could potentially be 100% renewable if it went to electrification and air pumps and then installed renewable energy on that property or on that business as well. Is that the push for electrification, is to move in that direction, do you feel like?
Theoretically, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the let me get it right. I would be happy to make a motion, sorry, Jason, excuse me. Thank you, friend. I would propose to make a motion to adopt the proposed resolution that would allow the city to enter into the Retail Energy Improvement Program Project Participation Agreement with MPPA for the implementation of the State of Michigan mandates of PA 229, known as the Clean and Renewable Energy and Energy Waste Reduction Act for years 2026 through 2029.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
A motion from Ms. Walker, second from Mr. Shields. Discussion, Ms. Demore.
So just follow up, did I understand you correctly that the cost of this has gone up, correct?
Correct.
How's it funded?
So it currently is funded by, you could call it a surcharge, a fee for residential, it's based on kilowatt hours used, so consumed. And then on our primary and secondary commercial and industrial customers, it's a flat fee per meter.
And you said, oh, I'm sorry.
So that's how it's funded currently now. As we move forward, because of the increased cost, and ironically, we're doing we're in our rate study right now, we're gonna have to look at what that monthly surcharge will be in order to fund this.
Okay.
Because it's been the same surcharge since
2009.
2009.
And it's been self-supporting. So our budgets, you know, we've had a budget about right currently, it's about $143,000 budget, right, Audrey? So that's been sustaining itself for all these years.
So it's self-supported by people
All of
paying.
us, by all of
Yeah.
us, by your
Not
your
coming out of
bill.
general fund.
No, it's
Correct.
coming out of your
No.
tax, your,
Silly.
Electric.
On your utility bill.
Utility, your utility bill, not general fund, no general fund members at all.
So the less you use, the cheaper it is.
So then my next question, and I don't even know if this is a logical question, but I think it is, so I'll try. This results in kilowatt savings, you said, right? The same,
For the city, correct, yes.
Yeah.
Well, overall, annually, savings of kilowatts, so that's less power we have to purchase.
yeah, what percentage is that of our total use, the savings? Do you have a sense of that? And if not, I'm
I
asking.
don't, no, I don't have a.
Okay, thank you.
I don't either.
Any other discussion? Public wish to weigh in on this? You could be sweet. Oh, no. I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Walker,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Naktrap,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Down to 3. Adoption of the proposed resolution authorizing the traffic order confirmation designating no parking on the west side of William Street. I turn it over to.
As Jason's coming up, we can talk. We do get a number of complaints on this stretch, especially in the summer season. It gets congested on having parking on both sides of Williams between Mitchell and Lake, to the point of if you're turning in off one of those streets and someone else is coming the opposite direction, there's really no way to safely get out of each other's way other than backing up into someone's driveway. So we've evaluated this for the last couple summers, and from a public safety standpoint, have some concerns how it's currently constructed. So our desire is to keep consistent with the stretch on Williams between Lake and Bay, and keep parking to one side of the street to allow that free flow of traffic through there safely. We do statutorily, we administratively have the ability to do temporary traffic control orders. Those are good for up to 90 days. We've done that. We've signed that stretch. But anything permanent needs to be considered by the elected body. So that's why it's in front of you. And this is certainly something that is consistent with what I've done in other locations where permanent traffic control orders are approved by the elected body. Jason, you want to fill in details?
Yeah, so I mean, like Shane said, we've been monitoring this. It seems like this summer we've had more complaints and it seems to be more congested, and I'm not sure what the driving factor is there, whether it's downtown visitors and merchants parking in the residential neighborhoods like you've mentioned tonight regarding parking, but it has become an issue. And so I think with our temporary no parking measures we put in place, I think it was October 26th or 27th, we've noticed a significant improvement.
Don't you? Don't,
Ms. Walker.
thank you, Mayor. Don't you think a lot of that has to do with that Rose Street reconstruction project? On the corner of Rose and Division Street with the rebuild of that house that caught on fire? That William Street section. And so if we're proposing to like not let people park on the west side of the street, so in the winter time when you have to go to every other side parking, it'll only be on the east side of William Street that you'll continue to allow parking.
Correct. Yep, that's how really the entire neighborhood kind of north of Mitchell is like a hill.
It'll just be the east side.
We plow what we can, and then when they move during the day, our guys cycle back through and try to catch parked areas.
But there's no parking on the east side.
On the west side. Yeah.
No parking. Parking is allowed on the west side, no parking on.
No,
No.
parking is being not allowed on the west side.
Yeah, correct.
So in that context, you'll just, like on Emmett Street where I live, like you can't park on the east side of the street because there's no parking. So only on the west side of the street can you park in the winter time. And then if it's every other week, you got to find another street to go park on.
Yep.
or every other day.
every other day. And
Even to the ends.
I think there's a couple apartment buildings on that block. I think maybe three, there's two corner buildings, one on the lake and one on Mitchell, and then I think there's one house in the middle, so that really impacts.
Yeah.
What we've done in years past, from what I was told, is if snow starts to accumulate, we're on that west side, we'll kind of let property owners know that we're gonna come in on whatever day, so if you can slide over so we can clean out that area occasionally, that's something that we'll work with property owners to do that. And as Jason said, we'll monitor that. If people are going to work or cycling out, we'll come over with smaller equipment and try to clean up those parking stalls.
You notified the people that live on the street of this?
We did not.
But I'm sure they'll be in favor.
Well, they saw signs
got no
for the
parking
last
signs, no.
30 days at
Right.
least.
You've had no calls about the signs up.
We've had two responses that I shared with you all in favor of parking, limiting parking on that one side.
What's the width of that street?
27
Six.
foot, I believe. It's similar to, all the streets that we reconstructed in 2022 are the same. So Williams, Lake, Clinton, or Summit,
26.
they're all 27, I believe.
27.
Back a curb to back a curb, yeah.
Mayor,
Yes,
can I ask another question?
please.
It's somewhat adjacent to this. So as many of us have noticed, on your way up Howard Street with the new reconstruction project, the road's gotten narrower. So like from Grove to Pearl and can't remember the name of that street and upwards towards Washington, well, Fulton coming in that way. There's another street there after Pearl. Sorry, I'm totally drawing a blank. Beach, thank you. Beach Street and then all the way, so that has narrowed significantly. So will that street also, will you have to choose to, will you eliminate parking like on the east side of that street as well because the street has narrowed and?
No, so we would monitor that. That street's gonna be similar width to what Kalamazoo is. So right now Kalamazoo Street is not posted except where it really narrows. And that's 26 foot back to back on the curbs at Ottawa School. So cars would be able to park, stagger park and get two-way traffic through there. We did monitor that. So when we did the concept and then the public comment meeting here at City Hall, we showed that concept of narrowing the street at Howard Street in the residential area. And we monitored parked cars. And so there was only a few, because most of those residents have off-street parking.
Okay.
There was only a few cars that ever parked on there on a regular basis.
I was just wondering in terms of narrowing streets and the widths of those respective streets. And so obviously there's somewhat of a connection there with Williams, but thank you for answering my.
My biggest concern was the hill. Coming or going up or down that hill with the narrowed. But if you feel there isn't gonna be any problems and no mirrors taken off or sides swiping, then I guess we're good.
Make a motion.
Yes, please.
I'd make a motion to move forward the traffic order confirmation resolution.
Do I have a second? Ms. Walker?
I'll second the
I have a
motion.
motion from Mr. Moore, second from Ms. Walker. Any discussion?
I'll only say this issue has come to me over time, most recently the two pieces of input I've received. But over time, anecdotally, I've driven it just to see what's happening. And it is absolutely a public safety issue because the other two blocks of Williams only have parking on one side, yet this is the block that intersects with Mitchell. So when you're traversing Mitchell and try to get in there, if somebody's coming the other direction, you're at a complete standstill. And it's also at an incline so that if it's winter weather, it's slippery. So I really think it's important that we do this.
Any other discussion? Public wish to weigh in on this? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes, aye. Passes 5-0. Down to 2. Adoption of proposed resolution authorizing city manager to execute Second Amendment to agreement the local fiscal recovery funds distribution between Emmett County and the city of Petoskey. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, the last extension we had was up to September 30. We are still not, we still have not moved forward with spending the remaining balance. I did send a email out to you on a maintenance issue at the lodge that a few of you chimed in on as far as replacing the siding. I think we can get that done yet this year within this budget and get this facilitated, you know, at the winter sports park. Certainly, we're doing master planning and getting community engagement on the larger site, but this would allow us to get this project done potentially even yet this year if we don't have too severe of a December. We may be able to get this recited, but at any case, we do need to ask for a second amendment to extend out. Initially, I asked for March 30th of 26. They seemed somewhat hesitant. They said they certainly could give us till the end of the year. But they haven't formally responded to that last request of first quarter 26, but that would be best case scenario. But if we did need to get it done by the end of the calendar year, this is certainly a project we think we could get done.
You good with this, council? Discussion or possible adoption motion?
After reading it, I have no problem making a motion to authorize city manager to execute the second amendment to the agreement to the local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Emmett and city of Petoskey.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Knoptrop, and I have a second from Ms. Demore. Any other discussion, council, on this? Ms. Demore.
Just very quickly, I know it's not before us right now, and this would be pending seeing the details, but in concept, the use of these ARPA funds to do maintenance on the existing building in the Winter Sports Park would seem to me to be a good use of the funds. So subject to the details and discussion. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Public wish to weigh in on this? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to the last agenda before city council comment. It's a discussion for city council meeting dates. The next meeting the first meeting in October, Mr. Knoptrop and I will not be able to attend. So there's concerns there. If we're not there, it leaves 3 of you.
That's a reasonable concern.
Well.
Just kidding.
Mr. Knoptrop and I, it won't be a concern because we'll be gone, but perhaps the rest of you, so. City manager, are you looking at other dates? Or not at all? Or what
Yeah,
you
I mean,
want?
that's the point of this discussion. I wasn't aware of either one of your schedules as far as anytime the rest of that week. Are you available, or just Monday, or nothing that week?
Thursday, which is a work session, city council work session, is that correct? Do I have that right? October 9th, was there one?
No.
That's,
September 9th there was.
okay,
I have a hold for city council too.
okay. You had it too,
I
didn't
have a
you?
hold for 9th or 10th.
Yep, yep, so that's off, okay. The 9th would work for me.
I can do the 9th.
It's unusual to have a city council meeting on a Thursday, but I'm good with that if,
I won't be back until the 10th, so, but you'll still have 4.
well, it depends. Mr. Shields, does that work for you?
No calendars.
Ms. Walker, does that work for you?
Friday, October the 10th?
No, the 9th, Thursday. the
Friday,
9th.
Thursday, October the 9th. Sure.
Yeah.
Ms. Shields? City manager, are you good with that one?
Yeah, that works for me.
It's unusual to have one on Thursday. I don't think all this time I've been here,
My meetings, the community I came from in Tennessee were Thursday night, so I'm used to Thursday.
Okay. Well, maybe we should look at that. We're always open for changes.
Yeah, that's a good question. We do have a couple presentations. The first meeting, should I wait till we have a full body?
What
It'll be Baird presenting on the wheelway study and
Do
then,
that then on the 20th?
that's what I'm asking, yeah. Does it make sense to make sure? Okay.
Yeah, everybody will be here on the 20th about.
And then MPPA wants to do just a general update, right? If there's nothing specific that.
I think it's great to hear from them though. It's
Sorry.
They just want to do state of the state.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you think they would be available on the 20th then? Could we schedule it then or did you?
Yeah, I could reach out to them tomorrow morning and
Okay.
see if we can shift that.
Yeah, we'll hold those off till the whole body is available. Thank you.
So city council will be on the 9th at 6 o'clock. Good. Next, last piece of this. City council comments, Ward 1, Mr. Moore.
I guess only thank you very much for welcoming the youth advisory students here. We'll be meeting the next time on October 12th. Yes, October 12th.
13.
That's
13.
Oh, thank you very much for that correction.
Mr. Shields, Ward 2.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm going to repeat something I've said earlier in this meeting, and I don't mean to be trouble, but hopefully it's good trouble. So we have 6 council meetings left, and we still have not seen any of the zoning recommendations that was kicked off in April 2024, so 17 months ago. I understand, respect that there's a lot of hard work, and there's no disparagement to the hard work and commitment that's been put into that. I disagree with the process. I find the process very frustrating that we are allowing so much discussion outside of council and then it's taking this long. And now, I thanks for, you're talking about the honest likelihood of it being at the end of this year. And so I'm concerned about it being pushed back to 2025. And my predecessor will be happy to take that on. But I feel like this is important. This is one of the most impactful things that we can have on the housing crisis is to look closely at our zoning. And I urge us to move this along as fast as we can.
Ward 3, Mr. Knoptrop.
I just wanted to make a comment. The assassination of Charlie Kirk last week has affected me deeply. And while I have agreed with much of what he said, and I just have violently, what a terrible word, I have not liked the way some of the reactions have been. And I'm just proud of how it seemed like this group in my short time disagree and debate, but truly have respect for each other's comments. And I just wish the rest of the freaking country would follow that, because I am so discouraged with what happened last week on either, no matter what way of the argument you are politically.
Mr. Moore.
Just very quickly, I want to say that I think the most powerful thing every one of us can do is to model what we expect. We're modeling for other adults, we're modeling for children, and that's the key. One person at a time. Thanks, Joe.
Ms. Walker, Ward 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with a lot of what Derek has brought up, and I really appreciate your consistency and just holding that truth. I use the zoning reform toolkit. I've brought it to all my ward conventions. I talk about it frequently. It's like best practices laid out in front of us. The last planning commission meeting I attended and spoke at was in regards to our short-term rental ordinances and determining the classifications for the B2 and B3 and first floor. And at that meeting, I was told that by a commissioner at the time that it was inappropriate for me to speak at a public meeting. So I haven't been to any of those meetings, and I've been waiting and reading the minutes and hoping for some kind of movement on setbacks and allowing density to happen, because I have a very good example in my neighborhood of a lot that sat vacant because a fire happened on Mother's Day of 2018, and nobody can make a case for building a duplex or a triplex on that piece of property and an economic model, not only because the cost of construction is very much skewed towards resort and second and third homes, but also because the setbacks and the ordinances don't allow for those kind of developments. And so I've been very patient, and I'm also really frustrated with the fact that there's all kinds of ordinances going before us that have to do with zoning for commercial properties. And yet we just cannot move the needle forward on removing some of these barriers and parking restrictions and other things that are preventing us from really creatively creating density in our residential neighborhoods and promoting housing. So I agree with that. We got to stay the course and follow through on those grant obligations. And we have such amazing grant obligations, but we have such amazing opportunities to follow suit of best practices and removing obstacles in zoning. And I really hope that we continue to stay the course and we can see some deliverables in the next couple months.
Was able to attend the ribbon cutting for the at North Central Michigan College for the early on educational program. I've also was able to several things. Letting you know, I'm on the college president's advisory board. We met discussing new programs such as dental hygienist. They're looking at new programs that will get people here jobs after some quick training at the college, whether it be 1-2 years, but it's really a great move. I attended the Greenwood Cemetery tour. I know that sounds funny, but you know what? I think it's really great. Hopefully someday if you have the opportunity, you'll be able to attend that. It happens to be at 10 o'clock, which is a hard time. I attended the Genesis Church, the migrant workers on Sunday at 2 o'clock. There were roughly 80 migrant workers that came for their what's called a fiesta. I think it's really a great opportunity to acknowledge hard workers. I stated, you know, if every worker in Northern Michigan worked as hard as one of those guys, we'd get a heck of a lot more done in this world. So I was able to also attend that along with a couple other ribbon cutting type things. So I agree with you with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think it's shocking and disappointing that people cannot use words for communications and have to use bullets. It's disgusting for violence, but I want to remind all of us, I see where they were mad at, somebody was mad at teachers because a teacher said something. Remember that that is a teacher, that's not all teachers. It's not all postal workers. It's a postal worker that may make that comment. So we got to remember and not group people together because we're lowering ourselves to the same level of the people that are causing the problems in this country. So don't lower yourself by picking at groups. If you have an issue, talk to the issue of that 1 or 2 people or whatever that's doing it. But let's not group everybody together because that's part of what this whole thing is about, is everybody is individuals. It's a terrible, sad thing that happened, and hopefully it never happens again. Let's hope. No further